Welcome, dear friend. You are here now, and that is already enough. This is your time to rest, to breathe, to return home to yourself. In this practice of meditation to let go of anxiety, you will learn to release stress, calm your thoughts, and walk gently into the present moment. Over the next few hours, let each breath be a reminder. You are alive, you are here, and peace is always within reach. There is nothing to force, nothing to chase. Simply listen, breathe, and allow yourself to be held by this moment. May this meditation bring you calm, may it bring you clarity, and may it light the inner flame that no storm can ever extinguish. Now, let us begin. There is a moment in the morning that is unlike any other. Before the mind remembers its burdens, before the phone glows its first demands, before the world's voices break into your room, there is a fragile space where silence lingers. In this space, the first breath after sleep rises like a tide. That breath is not merely air entering your lungs. It is the soft announcement of life itself, returning to you once again. It is the universe whispering, "Here is Anoth." Too often, we miss this moment. The alarm sounds, and we stumble out of bed already carrying the heaviness of yesterday. The mind, restless and impatient, races ahead into the obligations of the day. We rarely pause to consider the miracle that has already happened. We have awakened, not everyone does. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius would remind himself each morning, Centaur. To treat the first breath as a prayer is not to invent a ritual but to recognize what is already true. That breath contains gratitude, reverence, and possibility all at once. Inhaled deeply, it reminds you of your aliveness. Exhaled softly, it invites you to release what no longer serves. The entire path of mindfulness can be condensed into this single gesture. Think of a traveler setting out on a long road. If he takes his first step to the left instead of the right, his entire journey will unfold differently. The same is true of your morning. The direction of your first breath sets the tone of your day. If it is shallow, hurried, distracted, the day begins already tilted toward agitation. But if it is full, steady, intentional, the day inherits that steadiness. Neuroscience confirms what the ancients intuited. In the first minutes after waking, the brain is unusually plastic, receptive, and malleable. Impressions made in this brief window ripple outward, shaping mood, perception, and resilience for hours. Imagine why. The metaphor of the candle is often used in Buddhist practice. Light a single candle in a darkened room. The shadows do not disappear, but the room is transformed. The candle does not need to be large to be effective. Its very presence alters the atmosphere. The first breath, but how, practically, does one turn a breath into a prayer? The answer is disarmingly simple. When you awaken, resist the urge to move immediately. Let your eyes remain closed for a few seconds longer. Notice the body rising with the inhale, falling with the exhale. Whisper inwardly, not aloud, but within your own mind, 3 short phrases. I am thee, I am alive. I, a retai can choose. Do not underis the. If you find it difficult to remember this in the morning, prepare at night. As you drift toward sleep, rehearse the moment of waking. Imagine yourself lying in bed, eyelids fluttering open, the first inhale deep, the first exhale slow, the first words inwardly whispered, by placed, of core. Try it now, even as you read these words. Inhale deeply, as though it were the first breath of the morning. Exhale slowly, as though laying down yesterday's burden. Whisper inwardly, I am, I'll feel, the. And so tomorrow, when the light returns to your room, resist rushing past the threshold. Pause, receive. Let the first breath be a prayer, not spoken to the heavens, but whispered inwardly to life itself. In that prayer, the entire day begins to shift. The river takes its course, the candle is lit, and you walk, not hurried into distraction, but gently into reverence. Resist the glowing screen, receive the day. There is a moment in the morning when the mind has not yet been colonized. The silence of sleep still lingers like dew across the fields of thought. In that fragile interval, you stand at a crossroads. One path leads inward, toward breath and presence. The other leads outward, toward the glowing screen, toward the endless voices of strangers, toward the world's noise, before you have even heard your own. Most mornings in our modern world, the hand reaches almost automatically for the phone. It is the reflex of habit, a silent bow not to life but to distraction. Before the feet touch the floor, before the heart has been thanked, we allow the voices of others to plant themselves in our fertile soil. The news alerts, the messages, the feeds they scatter, seeds not chosen by us but by algorithms and strangers, and like weeds, they spread quickly, crowding out the quiet blossoms of gratitude that might have grown. To resist the glowing screen is not merely an act of discipline, it is an act of reverence. It is the decision to honor the sacredness of dawn before surrendering to the demands of the day. Just as monks in monasteries bow to life itself before rising, so too can you bow, not necessarily with your body, but with your attention. Your attention is the most precious resource you own. Wherever it goes, life follows. To give it away in the first minute of your day is to let others decide what you will water. Marcus Aurelius, waking centuries before the invention of screens, warned himself not to be pulled immediately into the concerns of others. Do not waste what remains of your life worrying about what people think, he wrote. The wisdom is timeless. The screen is simply the modern mask of that temptation. What was once gossip in the marketplace is now a scroll of infinite chatter. What was once the emperor's distraction is now our own, glowing in the palm of our hand. The antidote remains the same. Pause and return to yourself before you give yourself away. Imagine this: you open your eyes, and instead of reaching outward, you reach inward. The phone stays on the nightstand, untouched. You place one hand over your chest and feel the quiet rhythm of your heartbeat. Another hand rests on the rise and fall of your belly. You breathe deeply, once, twice, 3 times. You whisper inwardly, I am alive, I am here, I can choose. In that pause, before the world intrudes, you have already remembered what matters. You have already chosen reverence over reaction. Science now affirms what sages long intuited. The first minutes of wakefulness are disproportionately powerful. In that fragile window, the brain is in a liminal state, receptive to impressions that sink more deeply than at any other time of day. To fill that state with headlines, arguments, and envy is to invite agitation before you have even risen. To fill it with breath, gratitude, or silence is to program peace. Think of your mind in the morning as a freshly polished mirror. Whatever you place before it will be reflected throughout the day. If the first image is the glowing screen, an endless scroll of comparison, crisis, and noise, then your reflection will be fractured. If the first image is your own breath, your own presence, then the reflection is clear. The difference may seem small, but downstream it changes everything. There is a story from Zen of a novice who asked his master how to begin each day. The master handed him a bell and said, "Ring this before you open the door." The novice obeyed. Each morning, before stepping outside, he struck the bell once. The sound reverberated through the still air, reminding him of presence. The lesson was simple. Let the first note of your day come from within, not from without. Today, our bell can be silence, breath, or gratitude. But the principle is unchanged. Begin with what steadies you, not what scatters you. Resisting the glowing screen is not about rejecting technology. It is about reclaiming order. There is a time for the world's voices, but it is not the first minute of waking. The first minute belongs to life itself, to the miracle of breath, to the quiet miracle that you have opened your eyes again. Only after honoring that miracle should you invite the world to speak. Otherwise, you begin already as a guest in your own day. Try this tomorrow. When you awaken, keep the phone face down or place it in another room entirely. Let the first light you see be the light of the sun or the lamp, not the glow of pixels. Let the first sound you hear be the rhythm of your breath, not the ping of notifications. Let the first touch be the ground beneath your feet, not the cold glass of a screen. In this simple shift, you restore balance. You remind yourself that you are a human being before you are a consumer of information. And if you forget, if the reflex wins, if you find yourself scrolling before you even realize it, do not despair. Simply notice. The noticing itself is part of awakening. The next day, you may remember sooner. Over time, the habit of reaching inward before outward will grow stronger. Like all practices, it is not about perfection but about return. Forgetting is natural. Returning is the practice. There is a parable of two monks walking through the village. One carries in his heart the noise of the marketplace, the gossip of the townspeople, the rumors he overheard. The other carries only the sound of the temple bell that rang at dawn. Though they walk the same path, they experience different worlds. The first is restless, the second is at peace. The difference lies not in the path, but in the first sound that entered their morning. So too with you. Will your day begin with noise or with presence? At night, you can rehearse this practice as well. Before sleep, imagine the morning. See yourself resisting the reflex. See yourself turning inward instead of outward. Picture your hand hovering above the phone and then withdrawing, placing itself gently over your chest instead. This mental rehearsal plants a seed. The mind, like a field, grows what is planted. If you plant the image of resistance, you are more likely to enact it when the time comes. To resist the glowing screen is to reclaim sovereignty over your day. It is to declare that your attention is not for sale in the first fragile minutes of waking. It is to receive the day not as a consumer but as a participant, not as a distracted scroller but as a living being. And when you receive the day in this way, the day receives you differently. You step into it not already fractured but whole. So tomorrow, when the urge arises, pause. Let the phone wait. The world will not vanish if you delay its voices for 5 minutes. But those 5 minutes may alter the entire texture of your day. In those minutes, you can breathe. You can bow inwardly. You can receive the day as gift rather than demand. And in that reception, you may find that life feels lighter, clearer, steadier, simply because you remembered to begin with yourself before giving yourself away. A candle at dawn changes the room. The darkness before dawn has its own weight. It is not the same as night. Night feels complete, as though the world has settled into its natural silence. But the darkness before dawn carries a kind of waiting, a hushed anticipation, as if the universe itself is holding its breath. In this liminal space, even the smallest light is transformative. Strike a match, light a candle, and the room is altered. Shadows still linger in the corners, but the presence of flame changes everything. It is not the absence of darkness that makes the room livable, it is the presence of light. So it is with the first gestures of our morning. We imagine that peace will come only when every shadow is removed, when there are no worries, no tasks, no sorrows. But peace rarely comes that way. Life is not a room emptied of darkness. It is a room in which a candle has been lit. The shadows remain, but they no longer dominate. The flame offers orientation, direction, and warmth. The candle at dawn is both literal and metaphorical. Whether you light an actual wick or ignite an inward practice of breath, the effect is the same. The atmosphere shifts. There is an ancient tradition in monasteries to light a lamp before sunrise. The lamp does not exist to banish all darkness. It exists to remind the monks of presence. The flame flickers, steady yet fragile, a living metaphor for the mind. Left untended, it sputters. Given care, it glows. In our own modern lives, we may not light physical candles every morning, but we carry invisible ones. Each thought, each breath, each whisper of intention is a flame we set in the room of our consciousness. And though small, it changes the whole landscape of the day. Consider the power of small beginnings. Neuroscience now tells us that in the minutes after waking, the brain is in a state of heightened receptivity, soft and malleable like freshly poured cement. Whatever is imprinted then will harden into the grooves that shape mood and perception for hours. To light a candle, whether literal or figurative in that window, is to set a pattern of clarity. It is to plant a flame in soil that will carry its warmth throughout the day. Ignore it, and weeds of worry may root just as quickly. Think of your morning mind as a cave. At first, all is dark, and the shapes within are unrecognizable. Light a single flame, and suddenly the cave reveals its contours. The walls are visible, the path discernible, the dangers less threatening. Nothing about the cave has changed, only your relationship to it. In the same way, life's difficulties do not disappear because you breathe deeply or whisper gratitude at dawn, but they become visible, manageable, no longer infinite shadows. The candle does not fix the cave, it illuminates it, and in illumination, fear lessens. There is a story told of a monk who asked his teacher how to begin the day. The teacher silently handed him a candle and motioned for him to light it. The flame sputtered, then steadied. The teacher said, "This is the practice. Light the inner candle each morning. Do not expect it to banish all darkness. Expect only that it will show you where you are. the monk understood. The purpose of dawn rituals is not perfection but orientation. The candle is a compass more than a cure. You can create this practice for yourself in many ways. Some light an actual candle and sit in silence for 3 breaths. Some place a hand over the heart and whisper a mantra. Some simply notice the soft morning light filtering through curtains and let gratitude rise. The form matters less than the flame. What matters is that you begin with an act that changes the room of your mind. Even the smallest gesture, lighting incense, bowing inwardly, stretching slowly, can become the candle that reorients your day. Imagine tomorrow morning, instead of rushing immediately to tasks, you pause. You strike a match, or, if no candle is present, you close your eyes and imagine one. In your mind's eye, see the flame appear, wavering at first, then steadying. With each inhale, the flame brightens. With each exhale, the shadows shift but no longer intimidate. You sit with this image, even for 30 seconds. When you open your eyes, you carry the memory of that flame into the day. Each interaction, each challenge, is touched by its glow. The Stoics too understood this principle. They did not speak of candles, but they spoke of beginnings. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the soul must be dyed with the color of its first thoughts. Begin with agitation, and agitation bleeds into every encounter. Begin with reverence, and reverence colors even difficulty. The candle at dawn is the dye, the pigment that sets the tone of the fabric of your day. One drop spreads across the whole cloth, and perhaps you wonder, how can something so small matter? How can a single candle, a single breath, a single whispered intention alter the weight of an entire day? But recall the course of a mighty river. At its source, it is no more than a thread of water. Shift that thread by a hand's breadth, and hundreds of miles downstream, the river arrives at a different sea. So it is with your mornings. One small shift at the source creates vast changes downstream. Of course, there will be mornings when you forget. You will stumble into the day with shadows unlit. The candle will remain unlit, not because you did not deserve it, but because you simply forgot. Do not scold yourself. Forgetting is part of the rhythm. Even monks forget. The practice is not perfection, the practice is return. Tomorrow offers another chance. The candle waits, patient, for you to strike the match. At night, you can also rehearse the flame. As you lie in bed, imagine the morning candle. See yourself lighting it, or see yourself breathing deeply and igniting an inner flame at the center of your chest. Rehearse the warmth spreading, the shadows shifting. The mind rehearses what it remembers. When dawn arrives, your body will know what to do. The ritual will feel familiar, even inevitable. There is a Japanese saying, "One candle can light 1,000 others without diminishing itself." When you light your morning flame, you are not only changing your own room, you are preparing to light the rooms of others. Your calm presence, your softened gaze, your steady breath, all of these will touch the people you meet. They may not notice consciously, but they will feel it. In this way, the candle you light at dawn becomes a flame that spreads quietly through the world. So tomorrow, when darkness still lingers and the day has not yet demanded your attention, pause, light your candle, with match or with mind. Watch as the room changes, not by banishing every shadow, but by giving them context. You will see more clearly. walk more steadily, breathe more deeply. And as you step into the day, you will carry that flame within you, a small but steady glow against the shadows of life. The candle at dawn does not promise perfection. It promises orientation. It promises that you will not walk in utter darkness. It promises that however small the flame, it will be enough to remind you, you are alive, you are here, and you can choose how to walk. And sometimes, that reminder is all that is needed to turn an ordinary day into a sacred one, planting thoughts in fresh snow. There is a silence to early morning that feels unlike any other silence. It is not the silence of exhaustion at the end of a long day, nor the silence of a crowded room after the noise has died down. It is a silence more fragile, more tender, like a field after fresh snow has fallen, unmarked and waiting. Each step you take upon that snow will leave an imprint that cannot be erased. And in the same way, each thought you allow into your mind at dawn becomes a footprint across the field of your day. The Buddha once said that the mind is everything. What you think, you become. Neuroscience now echoes this truth, showing that the first minutes after waking are the brain's most suggestible state, pliable like clay, soft enough to be shaped by the gentlest touch. What you choose to plant in that soil will grow roots deeper than at any other time. A single anxious thought becomes a trail of heavy footprints trudging into the hours ahead. A single grateful thought becomes a gentle path meandering toward peace. Picture yourself standing before that unbroken snow. You hold in your hands the seeds of thought. One seed is worry. What if today goes wrong? Another seed is complaint. I did not sleep enough. I do not want to work. I am already tired. These seeds, if planted, will sprout weeds that tangle your steps. But in the other hand, you hold seeds of reverence. I am alive. I am here. I can choose. Plant these instead, and flowers will bloom even along difficult paths. The snow does not care what you plant. It will accept whatever touches it. The responsibility and the freedom is yours. Marcus Aurelius, waking in the cold centuries ago, whispered to himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to breathe, to think, to love, to be." He understood that the first imprint matters more than all the ones that follow. Begin with gratitude, and the whole day is colored by it. Begin with resentment, and even blessings feel burdensome. Like footprints in snow, the direction you choose at the start is the direction your day will follow. There is a parable of two monks who walked side by side at dawn. Both had slept in the same hall, eaten the same food, heard the same bird song, yet their days unfolded entirely differently. One awoke into complaint. His blanket was thin, his back ached, his chores seemed endless. The other awoke into reverence. His body had risen, his breath had returned. The morning sun had painted the floor in light. By evening, the first monk carried heaviness, the second carried lightness. The world was the same, but the footprints they set upon its snow at dawn carried them down different roads. It is tempting to believe that our days are shaped primarily by events, by what others say, by what work demands, by what obstacles arise. And of course, these matter, yet more often than not, our experience of them is shaped less by the events themselves than by the posture we carried into them. The seed sown at dawn colors every encounter. Like dye dropped into water, the first thought spreads until all is tinged by its hue. If you drop a thought of reverence, the whole day carries its tint. If you drop a thought of dread, the whole day darkens. So how do we plant wisely in fresh snow? The practice is simple, though not always easy. When you wake, pause before the day rushes in. Picture your mind as that field of snow, untouched. Then ask yourself, what imprint do I want to leave first? Do not let habit answer for you. Choose. Whisper a sentence that can carry weight. I am alive. I am here. I can choose. Or choose gratitude for something simple. The warmth of the blanket, the breath in your chest, the light through the window. Each chosen thought is a footprint placed with care, setting direction. The Zen tradition often compares the mind to a garden. What you plant grows. If you plant thorns, you will walk among thorns. If you plant flowers, beauty will surround you. But unlike gardens of soil, the garden of mind is replanted every dawn. Each morning, the snow falls anew, covering yesterday's tracks, offering you a blank canvas. This is grace. No matter how scattered you were yesterday, no matter what thoughts you planted then, the field is fresh again today. You can choose again. You can step differently. Of course, the world will try to trample your snow quickly. Notifications, demands, conversations, they are like careless footsteps across the field, muddying its stillness. But if your first imprint is steady, it becomes a trail that holds, guiding you even when others stomp across your path. A first breath of reverence is not erased easily. It remains beneath the noise, a quiet compass, pointing you back whenever you stray. Try this exercise. Tonight, before sleep, imagine tomorrow's snow. See it wide and untouched, gleaming under the morning light. Picture yourself stepping onto it with care, leaving a footprint of gratitude. Imagine whispering to yourself, I will begin with reverence. Rehearse this image until it feels real. Then, when morning comes, you will find the snow waiting. Your body will remember the path you rehearsed, and your first step will fall more easily where you intended. And if you forget, if the first words out of your mouth are complaints or sighs, if the first thought is worry, do not despair. Notice the footprints, then pause and plant again. The snow may already have been marked, but there is always space to choose anew. Step beside the old trail. Lay down a new one. Slowly, steadily, the new trail becomes the one you follow most. There is a Japanese haiku that reads, no footsteps yet seen. Snow stretches into silence, waiting for my path. Your mornings are this poem embodied. Each day begins unmarked. Each day waits for your path. Will you stamp heavily into dread or step lightly into gratitude? Will you scatter frantic prints in every direction or walk steadily, leaving a clear trail? The choice is yours, and it is renewed each dawn. Think of the candle you lit earlier, the breath you whispered. Now think of the snow beneath your feet. The candle is the flame that orients you. The snow is the ground upon which you walk. Together, they create the sacredness of morning. Flame above, snow below, breath within. All three remind you that you are not powerless before your day. You are shaping it from its first moment. So tomorrow, when your eyes open and silence still lingers, pause. See the snow in your mind. Place one careful step. I am alive. I am here. I can choose. Let that be your first footprint. The rest of the day will follow its trail, and when evening comes, you will look back across the field, not at a chaos of scattered prints, but at a path walked with intention. The snow will melt, yes. The day will pass, yes. But the practice will remain. And tomorrow, when the snow falls fresh again, you will know where to place your first step. Rehearsing morning in the mind at night. There is a secret known to monks, athletes, and artists alike. The mind does not wait for reality to practice. It rehearses constantly. A violinist imagines the bow gliding across strings, and the body remembers. An athlete visualizes the arc of the ball, and the muscles prepare. A monk envisions the dawn ritual, and the spirit inclines toward reverence before the sun even rises. The night, then, is not only for rest, it is for rehearsal. And the most profound rehearsal may be this: imagining your morning before it comes. When you lie in bed, the day behind you fading and the next not yet arrived, your mind is in a threshold state. It drifts between the conscious and the subconscious, between waking thought and dreaming symbol. In this liminal place, impressions sink deep, seeding themselves in the soil of your being. Neuroscience calls this state hypnagogia. Spiritual teachers call it a doorway. Whatever words you place at the edge of sleep echo in the chambers of tomorrow. Imagine yourself here tonight. You close your eyes, the room dim, the breath slowing. Instead of replaying worries or regrets, instead of rehearsing arguments or losses, you choose a different script. You see tomorrow morning unfold, not in chaos, but in clarity. Your eyelids flutter open. You resist the screen. You notice the first breath rising like a tide, falling like a blessing. You whisper silently, "I am alive. I am here. I can choose." You place your feet on the floor slowly, as if greeting the earth itself. You light your inner candle. You step into the snow of a new day with reverence. This is rehearsal, not fantasy, not escape, but training. The Stoic Marcus Aurelius practiced such rehearsal each night. In his meditations, he would remind himself of what awaited tomorrow: insults, interruptions, illness, loss. He did not rehearse them to suffer twice. He rehearsed them so he would not be surprised, so that when they came, he could meet them with steadiness. Buddhists practice similarly, not by predicting hardship, but by visualizing presence. Both paths understand the same truth. The mind becomes what it repeatedly imagines. If you picture yourself meeting the day with reverence, the body will incline in that direction when the moment comes. Consider the story of a monk asked why he meditated before sleep. "Because tomorrow begins tonight," he said. "If I sleep in agitation, I awoken in agitation. If I sleep in reverence, I awoken in reverence." The mind carries forward what it holds last. The science of sleep agrees. The final thoughts before rest are often the ones replayed and consolidated by the dreaming brain. You are, in a very real sense, programming tomorrow with tonight's images. So how do we rehearse morning in the mind at night? Begin simply. As you lie down, let the body settle. Place one hand on the chest, one on the belly. Breathe slowly, signaling to your nervous system that it is safe to release. Then imagine the dawn. Picture yourself waking. Feel the texture of the sheets, the coolness of the air, the weight of the body rising. Imagine the first inhale deep and steady, the first exhale slow and releasing. Whisper inwardly, I am alive. I am here. I can choose. See yourself resisting the reflex of the glowing screen. See yourself lighting the candle, real or imagined. See yourself stepping onto the snow of morning with reverence. Let the entire ritual play across the stage of your mind. At first, it may feel artificial, but remember, rehearsal is never wasted. Even when athletes miss the shot in practice, the body learns. Even when monks forget in the morning, the rehearsal lingers. Slowly, repetition engraves itself into habit. The mind rehearses, the body remembers, and the soul inclines toward reverence without strain. One day you will awaken and find yourself practicing without conscious effort, as if the rehearsal had been waiting all along to become real. And if you forget, if you fall asleep in complaint, if you awaken in distraction, do not scold yourself. Remember the rhythm, forgetting and returning. Even noticing that you forgot is already part of returning. Each night offers another rehearsal. Each morning offers another chance to live what you rehearsed. This is the generosity of practice. It forgives endlessly. There is a Zen saying, "Every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most." To rehearse morning at night is to prepare for that rebirth. It is to set the stage so that when you are born into dawn, you enter not with fear but with gratitude. The rebirth is small but profound. One breath at dawn, one whisper, one candle. These shape a lifetime when repeated. Try this tonight. As you drift, instead of surrendering to anxious loops, guide your imagination gently. Say inwardly, "Tomorrow, I will awaken with reverence." Picture it clearly. Feel it in your body. Then let sleep take you. In the morning, notice if the body follows the path you traced. It may not be perfect, but even if you remember only part of it, the breath, the candle, the whisper, it is enough. The seed has been planted. The practice of rehearsing morning in the mind at night is not about control. It is about direction. You cannot dictate every detail of tomorrow, but you can incline yourself toward presence. You can set your sail before the wind rises. The river may twist and the weather may change, but if your sail is set, you will travel differently than if you had left it flapping. Think of it this way. The mind is like a traveler preparing for a journey. Pack resentment, and the trip will be heavy. Pack reverence, and even rough roads will feel lighter. Rehearsal is packing the right provisions. Tonight, you pack gratitude, breath, intention. Tomorrow, you will find them waiting in your bag when you need them most. So as night falls, do not treat it as the end. Treat it as the quiet beginning of tomorrow. Let your last thoughts be seeds, your last breath a bow, your last image a flame steady against the dark. Then sleep. Trust that the rehearsal will unfold in ways unseen, and when dawn comes, you will walk a path you yourself laid down in the silence of night. Practice gratitude. 3. Quiet. Thanks. Reshape the day. Gratitude is one of the simplest practices to describe, yet one of the hardest to sustain. It is not complicated, not dramatic. It asks only for a small pause, a shift in attention, a bow toward what is already here. But though it is small, it reshapes the entire day. To begin with, gratitude is to begin with sufficiency rather than lack, with reverence rather than complaint. And that beginning changes everything. The Buddha said that the mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant there will grow. Neuroscience confirms this, showing that attention strengthens neural pathways. What you notice repeatedly becomes the default setting of your perception. If you focus each morning on what is missing, the day is tinted with scarcity. If you focus on what is present, the day glows with sufficiency. Gratitude is the simple but profound act of planting good seeds in the garden of the mind. Imagine waking and letting your eyes open slowly. Before reaching for the phone, before pulling yesterday's burdens into today, pause. Let the breath rise, fall. And in that pause, name 3 things you are thankful for. They do not need to be extraordinary. In fact, it is better if they are ordinary. The roof above your head, the steady rhythm of your breath, the warmth of the blanket that cradled you. These are small things, so small they are easy to overlook. But gratitude trains the heart to see that nothing is small when seen clearly. When you whisper 3 thanks, you light 3 candles. Each candle changes the atmosphere of the room, not by removing all darkness, but by offering orientation. 1 candle is survival. I am alive. Another candle is presence. I am here. A 3rd candle is choice. I can walk this day with reverence. These 3 flames together push back the shadows of complaint. They remind you that life has already given more than it has withheld. Consider the story of a humble monk in a remote village. Each morning he was given nothing more than a bowl of plain rice. Outsiders pitied him. "How meager your life must be," they said. But the monk would bow his head, place his palms together, and whisper, "Thank you." He ate slowly, as though savoring a feast. One day, a traveler asked him, "How can you be grateful for so little?" The monk replied, "Because I do not see little, I see enough." His rice filled his body, and his gratitude filled his heart. Together, they made him whole. This is the paradox of gratitude. It does not come after abundance, it creates abundance. To be grateful is to see sufficiency where craving once demanded more. It does not mean denying hardship. It means refusing to let hardship blind you to blessings. Gratitude widens the frame so that beauty is seen alongside sorrow. A storm may rage, but gratitude reminds you of the shelter still standing, the friend still near, the breath still steady. In modern language, science now confirms what the monks always knew. Studies show that gratitude practices reduce anxiety, lower cortisol, and even improve sleep. The brain, bathed in thanks, softens its vigilance. The nervous system, often braced for threat, relaxes into safety. Gratitude is medicine, invisible but potent. It changes the chemistry of the body as surely as it changes the atmosphere of the heart. But the true power of gratitude is not in one dramatic gesture. It is in repetition. To pause each morning for 3 thanks is to build a rhythm over days, weeks, years. This rhythm reshapes the lens through which you see. Complaints may still come, but they no longer dominate. Gratitude becomes the ground note, the steady hum beneath the noise of life. Try it tonight before sleep. Lie down, close your eyes, and gather the day's blessings. A smile from a stranger, the taste of tea, the sound of birds at dusk. Do not dismiss them as trivial. Place them like jewels upon the altar of your mind. Whisper, "Thank you for this, thank you for this, thank you for this." Notice how the body softens, how the breath deepens, how rest comes more easily. Gratitude is not only for dawn, it is also for dusk. It bookends the day, planting seeds at both thresholds. And if you forget, if the first words out of your mouth are complaints, if the last thoughts at night are worries, do not despair. Gratitude forgives endlessly. Simply return. Even one whispered thanks in the middle of a chaotic day can reset the lens. Even one bow inwardly can shift the heart. Gratitude does not demand perfection. It invites return. There is a Zen parable of a man walking in darkness with a small lamp. A passerby mocked him. "Your lamp is too small. It cannot light the whole path." The man replied, "It need not light the whole path. It need only light the next step." Gratitude is the same. 3 thanks will not remove all shadows, but they will illuminate enough of the path to keep walking steadily. So tomorrow, when you awaken, resist the rush. Pause for 3 breaths. Name 3 thanks. Let them be small. Let them be ordinary. Let them be yours. In that simple act, you will reshape the day. You will step not into lack but into sufficiency, not into complaint but into reverence. And by nightfall, when you gather more thanks, you will see that the day was filled with jewels hidden in plain sight. 3 quiet thanks, 3 small flames, 3 seeds planted in the snow of morning, that is all. And yet, when practiced daily, it is enough to change the entire garden of your life. Enoughness versus craving. Craving is a restless companion. It wakes with us, walks beside us, whispers in our ear at every turn. It tells us that what we have is never enough, that fulfillment lies always one step ahead, one possession away, one achievement further down the road. Gratitude, by contrast, is a quiet friend who stands beside us and says softly, "Look again, what you seek is already here." The struggle between these 2 voices, craving and enoughness, shapes much of our suffering and much of our peace. The Buddha named craving tanha as the root of suffering. To crave is not merely to want. Wanting can be natural, even necessary. Craving is a deeper hunger, one that refuses satisfaction. It is the thirst that remains unquenched, no matter how much you drink. It is the voice that says, "Yes, you have this, but what about that?" It is endless. Gratitude, by contrast, is the end of the chase. It is the whisper that says, "Yes, this is sufficient. This is already whole." You think of the monk with his bowl of plain rice. To outsiders, his life looks meager. They see scarcity, but the monk bows his head, whispers thanks, and tastes abundance. He is full because his heart knows enoughness. Now consider the modern table overflowing with food, screens glowing, conversations buzzing, yet the diners feel restless, unsatisfied, already thinking of the next indulgence. They are surrounded by abundance but blinded by craving. Which one is rich? Which one is poor? Richness, it seems, is not measured in what is on the table but in how the heart receives it. Marcus Aurelius, waking each morning into the weight of an empire, reminded himself that life itself was the greatest privilege. When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to breathe, to think, to love, to be. He knew that craving for more power, more glory was a trap, even for an emperor. To remember enoughness was to taste freedom. To forget it was to become a prisoner of endless hunger. Craving is seductive because it masquerades as hope. It tells us that happiness is just around the corner. But when we arrive, it moves the corner further ahead. It is the horizon that recedes as you walk toward it. Gratitude, on the other hand, is the act of stopping, turning around, and realizing that beauty is already all around you. The sky is already vast. The breath is already steady. The body is already alive. Enoughness is not the enemy of growth. It is the soil from which true growth springs. Consider the river. If it were always grasping to be somewhere else, it would never flow with grace. It would resist each bend, complain at each stone, fight against its own current. But because the river accepts its course, it moves forward naturally. Enoughness is like this. It allows you to walk your path with steadiness. Craving, by contrast, is like trying to force the river uphill, exhausting, impossible, endless. In daily life, craving often disguises itself in small ways. You sit at your desk, and instead of noticing the miracle of breath or the quiet companionship of the chair, the mind says, "If only I had a better job." You scroll through your phone, and instead of enjoying the present moment, the mind says, "If only I had their life, their looks, their success." Each "if only" is a footprint of craving in the snow of your mind. Each "if only" pulls you further from enoughness. Gratitude interrupts this spiral. It says, "Yes, this breath, this moment, this life, it is already sufficient." There is a Zen story of a farmer who lamented his life. His crops failed, his neighbors prospered, his children disobeyed. "Why is my life so hard?" he asked the Buddha. The Buddha replied, "You have 83 problems. Sometimes they change, sometimes they stay, but you will always have them." The farmer was distraught. "Then what is the point of practice?" The Buddha smiled gently. "The practice is for the 84th problem." The farmer asked, "What is the 84th problem?" The Buddha answered, "The belief that you should not have problems. Craving is the 84th problem. It is not the problems themselves that break us. It is the belief that life should be free of them." Gratitude, by contrast, accepts the cracks and still sees the blossoms that grow from them. Try this practice. The next time you hear the voice of craving, "If only I had this, if only I were there, if only I were someone else," pause, place a hand over your chest, breathe deeply, whisper inwardly, "Enough." Not in resignation, not in defeat, but in reverence. Enough. Let the words sink into the body. Enough breath, enough life, enough presence. Feel how the body softens, how the mind slows. This is the power of gratitude. It transforms the restless energy of craving into the steady warmth of sufficiency. Of course, craving will return. It is the habit of the mind. Do not fight it with anger. Smile gently at it, as though at a child who keeps asking for one more toy. Say softly, "I see you, and I return to enough." Each return strengthens the path. Each return plants the seed again. Over time, craving's voice grows quieter, while gratitude's voice grows stronger. There is an old haiku, "A single bowl rice. In its steam, I see the clouds. In its grain, the earth." This is enoughness. To see the world in what is already present. To taste the miracle in what seems ordinary. To bow to what is, instead of being dragged endlessly by what is not. Enoughness is not stagnation. It does not mean giving up dreams, refusing to grow, or settling for harm. It means rooting growth in sufficiency rather than in hunger. A tree grows tall not because it despises its roots, but because it is nourished by them. So too, when you are grounded in gratitude, you can reach higher without losing balance. Craving uproots, gratitude grounds. So tomorrow, when you awaken, listen for the voices. One will whisper, "Not enough, not yet, not here." Another will whisper, "Enough, already, now." Which voice will you water? Which seed will you plant in the snow of your morning? Remember, the choice is yours, and each choice shapes the river of your life. Let your thanks be the answer to craving. Let your gratitude be the antidote to hunger. Whisper, even now, this breath is enough. This moment is enough. I am enough. In those words lies freedom, not from life's challenges, but from the endless illusion that happiness is always somewhere else. The bowl of rice and a full heart. There is a story told in the Buddhist tradition about a monk who lived in a small mountain village. Each morning, as the sun stretched its first light across the horizon, he walked barefoot to a neighbor's door, where a bowl of plain rice awaited him. This was his daily offering, his only meal. Outsiders, visiting the village, pitied him. "How poor this monk must be," they whispered. "Nothing but a bowl of rice to sustain him." Yet when they saw him sit quietly with his meal, palms together, eyes closed in reverence, they noticed something strange. He did not look poor at all. He looked radiant, content, even joyful. Before lifting the first grain to his lips, the monk whispered, "Thank you." He did not thank only the giver. He thanked the earth that had cradled the seed, the rain that had nourished it, the sun that had ripened it, the farmer who had bent his back to harvest it, the cook who had steamed it, and life itself for offering it. By the time the rice touched his tongue, it was no longer just rice. It was the universe condensed into nourishment. Each grain was a miracle. Each bite was enough. His body was filled by the rice, but his heart was filled by gratitude. This story reminds us that wealth is not always measured in what fills the bowl, but in how the heart receives it. A bowl of rice, eaten with reverence, can nourish more deeply than a banquet consumed with greed. Gratitude transforms simplicity into abundance. Without gratitude, even the richest feast feels lacking. With gratitude, even the humblest meal feels whole. In modern life, we often overlook this truth. Meals are eaten quickly, distractedly, often with a phone in one hand, scrolling through someone else's story while ignoring the miracle in our own. We forget that food is not a right, but a gift, an intricate chain of causes and conditions that converge to sustain us. A single slice of bread carries the labor of countless hands, the patience of soil and sky, the gift of life itself. When gratitude is absent, food becomes fuel and nothing more. But when gratitude is present, food becomes a sacred exchange, a conversation with the universe. The Stoics too understood this. Epictetus, who had little wealth and lived most of his life as a slave, taught that contentment comes not from what we possess, but from how we perceive. Wealth, he said, consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. The bowl of rice, received with gratitude, is wealth. The banquet, received with discontent, is poverty. There is a practice known as mindful eating, often taught in monasteries. It is simple but profound. Before eating, pause. Look at the food before you. Imagine the hands, the elements, the chain of effort and generosity that brought it to you. Then, with the first bite, chew slowly, savoring, as though the food were a jewel dissolving on your tongue. Notice the flavors, the textures, the warmth. Whisper inwardly, "Thank you." This practice transforms the act of eating into meditation, into prayer, into gratitude embodied. The bowl of rice is also a metaphor for life itself. We are given this body, this breath, this moment, not always lavish, not always easy, but always enough if received with reverence. How often do we look at our lives and complain, only this job, this home, this body, this day, and yet, to another, what you call only this would be an unimaginable gift. Gratitude is the lens that reveals abundance in what once seemed meager. It teaches the heart to say, this is not little, this is enough. But gratitude does not mean denial. It does not mean pretending suffering does not exist, or that hardship is not real. The monk's rice was plain. It was not luxurious, not filling by worldly standards. But his heart did not deny that truth. He simply chose to meet it with reverence rather than complaint. Gratitude does not erase difficulty. It widens the frame until blessings are visible alongside it. Consider your own life. Think of a meal you once shared when you were deeply present, perhaps a holiday table surrounded by loved ones, or a simple sandwich eaten on a quiet afternoon when you were at peace. That meal, regardless of its extravagance, carried a weight beyond calories. It became nourishment for the spirit as much as the body. Gratitude was the unseen seasoning. Contrast that with a meal eaten in haste, distracted, worried. The food may have been richer, but it nourished less. Gratitude, or the lack of it, changes everything. In Buddhist monasteries, there is a chant recited before meals. This food is the gift of the whole universe, the earth, the sky, and much hard work. May we live in such a way that makes us worthy to receive it. To eat with gratitude is not only to thank, but to take responsibility. If food is the gift of the universe, then our actions should honor that gift. Gratitude ripples outward into how we live. Try this practice tomorrow. When you sit with your meal, pause for one breath before the first bite. Place your hands together if you wish, or simply close your eyes briefly. Whisper, "Thank you," then chew slowly. Notice the miracle hidden in what seems ordinary. If it is rice, remember the seed, the rain, the farmer. If it is fruit, remember the tree, the soil, the sun. If it is bread, remember the mill, the hands, the fire. Each bite is a universe made edible. Each bite is grace. And if you forget, if you eat distractedly, rushing, complaining, do not scold yourself. Simply notice. The next meal offers another chance. Gratitude is endlessly forgiving. Every bite is a new invitation to return to reverence. There is a Zen haiku that says, "Bowl of plain white rice, steam rising into the air, a feast for the heart." Gratitude is what makes it a feast. Gratitude is what turns steam into incense, what turns rice into jewels, what turns a meal into a sacrament. Without gratitude, even gold tastes bitter. With gratitude, even rice tastes divine. So the next time you sit before a meal, remember the monk and his bowl. Remember that wealth is not in the size of the portion, but in the fullness of the heart that receives it. Bow, whisper thanks, taste slowly, and discover for yourself that a bowl of rice, eaten with gratitude, can be enough to feed not only the body but the soul. Gathering the day's jewels at dusk, the day ends the way it begins, at a threshold. Morning opens into possibility, night closes into rest. Both are sacred doorways, and both are tender moments where the soil of the mind is softest, most receptive. If dawn is a chance to plant seeds, dusk is a chance to gather fruit. At night, before the body surrenders to sleep, there is an invitation to look back, not with judgment, not with regret, but with gratitude. It is the practice of gathering the day's jewels before darkness folds them out of sight. Too often, we let the day collapse behind us like a door slammed shut. We stumble into bed, carrying the weight of frustrations, the heaviness of tasks undone, the sting of words spoken harshly. The mind replays the mistakes, the missed opportunities, the burdens. Sleep becomes a restless rehearsal of grievances rather than a gentle descent into peace. But gratitude offers another way. It teaches us to pause at dusk and notice the jewels hidden among the stones of the day. Imagine the day as a river you have crossed. Along its banks, scattered in plain sight, are gems, small moments of beauty, kindness, or relief. Perhaps you walked past them too quickly to notice. A smile exchanged with a stranger, a breeze that cooled your skin, the simple satisfaction of finishing a task. These jewels are easy to miss because they are small, ordinary, and overshadowed by the mind's fixation on what went wrong. Gratitude is the art of walking back along the riverbank in memory and picking them up one by one until your hands are full of light. The Stoics spoke often of nightly reflection. Seneca advised reviewing the day not to scold oneself, but to learn. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his Meditations, would rehearse what had unfolded, not to dwell but to align his actions with his values. Buddhists do the same, though in a gentler key. Instead of interrogation, they practice remembrance. They ask, what small blessings appeared today? Where did kindness visit me? Where did I show compassion, however briefly? It is less examination than thanksgiving. Where the Stoic polishes the mirror to remove smudges, the Buddhist polishes the mirror to see the light that still shines through. Try this tonight. Lie down, close your eyes, and let the day replay slowly in your mind. Do not cling to every scene. Let them flow past like images on a film. But when a moment glimmers, someone holding a door for you, a laugh shared, a moment when the sun broke through clouds, pause. Pick it up. Place it in your heart as though laying a jewel on an altar. Then continue, gathering as you go. By the time you reach the end of the day, you will see that even in difficulty, the river carried treasures. Gratitude does not erase the hardships, but it prevents them from defining the whole. There is a Zen parable of a monk who walked each night through the monastery gardens. As he strolled, he picked up small stones and carried them back to his cell. Some nights the stones were smooth and shining, others rough and plain. But to the monk, each stone represented a moment from the day, a lesson, a blessing, or simply an experience. Before sleeping, he placed them in a bowl. Over time, the bowl filled, reminding him that no day was ever empty. Even the hardest days left something to be carried, if only a lesson. Gratitude works in the same way. It fills the bowl of memory with jewels so that you fall asleep not impoverished but enriched. Science has discovered what sages always knew. To reflect on blessings before sleep changes the quality of rest. Studies show that those who practice gratitude at night fall asleep faster, sleep more deeply, and awaken more refreshed. The mind, instead of circling endlessly around worries, settles into safety. The nervous system, soothed by reverence, releases its grip. Gratitude is like a lullaby for the soul. But gathering jewels is not only about comfort, it is also about perspective. Gratitude stretches the lens of vision. Without it, the day is narrowed to what went wrong. With it, the day expands to include what went right, however small. A storm may have raged, but gratitude notices the roof that held. Work may have been exhausting, but gratitude notices the friend who listened. The body may have ached, but gratitude notices the breath that carried it still. By collecting jewels, we refuse to let suffering monopolize our story. Of course, some nights will be harder. There will be days so heavy that jewels seem impossible to find. On such nights, gratitude may feel forced. That is okay. Even forced gratitude plants seeds. Begin with one. Perhaps all you can whisper is, "Thank you for this bed," or "Thank you for this breath," or simply, "Thank you for making it through." That one jewel is enough. Place it gently in your heart. Over time, the practice strengthens, and more jewels become visible even in darkness. There is a haiku that captures this spirit. Day's end, pockets full, not of gold or precious stones, but of remembered light. This is the essence of gratitude at dusk. You do not leave the day empty-handed. You carry its remembered light into the night, letting it soften your rest and prepare your dawn. So tonight, before you surrender to sleep, pause. Walk the riverbank of memory. Gather the day's jewels. Place them in your heart. Whisper thanks. Let gratitude be the pillow on which your mind rests. And when the morning comes, you will awaken lighter, steadier, already carrying a pocketful of light into the snow of a new day. Gratitude in hardship. It is easy to give thanks when the table is full, when the body is strong, when the path is smooth beneath your feet. Gratitude flows naturally then, like water downhill. But the true measure of practice is not how it carries us through ease, but how it sustains us in difficulty. To practice gratitude in hardship is to discover its deepest power. It is to find light, not in the absence of darkness, but within it. The Buddha did not promise that life would be free of suffering. Quite the opposite. He began with the truth of dukkha, the inevitability of pain, loss, impermanence. Illness comes, age comes, grief comes. To live is to encounter hardship. The Stoics, too, reminded themselves daily that fortune turns, that what is given will be taken, that even emperors cannot escape loss. If gratitude were only for moments of comfort, it would be fragile indeed. But gratitude, rightly practiced, is not fragile. It is resilient. It does not deny sorrow, but it widens the lens until blessings appear at the edges of suffering. Consider the story of a village caught in famine. Crops failed, hunger spread, and despair weighed heavy on the people. Yet each morning, a wandering monk sat in the village square. He closed his eyes, placed his hands together, and whispered, "Thanks, not for feasts, which he did not have, not for comfort, which was absent. He gave thanks for the sun that still rose, for the breath that still filled his chest, for the companionship of those who endured beside him. At first, the villagers scoffed. How can a man give thanks when his stomach is empty? But over time, they noticed that his spirit did not break. His gratitude nourished him in ways food could not. Slowly, they began to join him, naming their own small blessings: the fire that still warmed, the child that still laughed, the river that still flowed. Their hunger did not vanish, but their despair lightened. Gratitude did not feed their bodies, but it fed their courage, and courage carried them through until the earth blossomed again. This is the essence of gratitude in hardship. It does not remove pain, but it prevents pain from consuming the whole picture. It does not ask us to pretend everything is fine. It asks us to notice that even in difficulty, something remains. The storm may rage, but there is still a roof. The body may ache, but the breath continues. A friend may be lost, but the memory of love endures. Gratitude in hardship is not a denial of suffering. It is a refusal to let suffering have the last word. The Stoics trained for this too. Epictetus, born a slave and often in pain from a crippled leg, taught his students to find freedom in their attitude, even when their circumstances were harsh. He reminded them that no one can steal your ability to see blessings. You may be denied comfort, but no one can deny you the choice to be grateful for breath, for mind, for the possibility of virtue. Gratitude is the one wealth that cannot be confiscated. In your own life, hardship may take many forms: illness, loss, disappointment, loneliness. In those moments, the reflex is often to collapse inward, to see only what is missing, to tighten around the wound. Gratitude invites you to soften instead, to ask gently, even now, what remains. The answer may be small: a cup of tea, a hand that held yours, a song that stirred your heart. Even grief itself can be reframed as proof of love. I grieve because I cared, because I was given something precious enough to lose. Gratitude in hardship does not erase the ache, but it transforms it into reverence. Try this practice on a difficult day. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe. Name one thing for which you can still give thanks. It might be as simple as, "Thank you for this breath," or "Thank you for having made it this far." Whisper it softly, like lighting a candle in a storm. The wind may blow, the rain may fall, but the candle still burns. One flame is enough to alter the whole room. Gratitude is that flame. Of course, it is not easy. Gratitude in hardship is not natural. It requires practice, patience, and gentleness with yourself. Some days you will not be able to find thanks. On those days, gratitude can simply be the willingness to try again tomorrow. Even the attempt is a kind of bow to life. There is a Zen story of a cracked water pot. A monk carried 2 pots from the river each day, one whole, one broken. The broken pot leaked half its water along the path, and in shame it apologized. "I have failed you. I am flawed." But the monk smiled and pointed to the path lined with flowers. "It is because of your cracks that this path is filled with blossoms." Hardship, too, leaks. It cracks us open. But if we meet it with gratitude, even the cracks can water unseen flowers. Science now echoes this ancient wisdom. Studies show that people who practice gratitude during adversity report greater resilience, lower depression, and even stronger immune function. Gratitude does not cure hardship, but it equips us to endure it without breaking. It shifts the nervous system from panic to presence, reminding us that even amid difficulty, life is still offering something. There is a haiku that captures this beautifully: winter bare and cold, yet beneath the frozen ground, roots remember spring. Gratitude in hardship is this remembering. It is the knowledge that winter is not the whole story, that even in the cold, roots live, seeds wait, life persists. So when hardship comes, as it inevitably will, pause, breathe, whisper thanks for what remains. Let that small flame steady you. Let it remind you that you are not abandoned, not empty, not without blessings. And as you practice, you will discover that gratitude is not fragile after all. It is strongest when the night is darkest. Walker's meditation, arriving with every step. The miracle, said Thich Nhat Hanh, is not to walk on water or in the air, but to walk on the earth. We spend so much of our lives walking without noticing it, rushing from car to office, from desk to kitchen, from one obligation to the next. The feet move, but the mind is elsewhere. We arrive at destinations, but we never arrive in ourselves. Meditation in walking changes this. It transforms each step from a means to an end into an end in itself. Walking meditation is a practice as old as Buddhism itself. The monks did not sit only in stillness. They also walked slowly, deliberately, letting each step anchor them in the present. A walking path would often circle a temple garden, the sound of sandals on stone joining the song of birds, the rustle of leaves. The body moved, but the mind rested. In the rhythm of step and breath, presence deepened. Imagine your own steps tomorrow. Instead of hurrying down the hallway or striding quickly to the car, you pause. You let the heel touch the earth gently, then the sole, then the toes. You synchronize each step with breath. Inhale as you lift, exhale as you place. With the heel you whisper inwardly, present, with the sole, here, with the toes, now, present, here, now. Each step becomes a mantra, a prayer. Each step is an arrival. The Stoics understood something similar, though they spoke in different language. Epictetus advised, walk as though your soul were watching. He meant that dignity is not found in outward display but in inward alignment. When you walk as though your soul bears witness, you walk with care, with steadiness, with awareness of your own presence. You do not rush unconsciously. You honor the ground you tread. This is walking meditation by another name. Why does this matter? Because the mind is rarely where the body is. As you walk, the mind runs ahead to emails, rehearses arguments, relives regrets. The body moves, but the self is divided. Walking meditation reunites what has been split. It says, let the body lead, let the mind follow. Step by step, thought loosens, like a thread unwinding. Anxiety softens, rumination dissolves. What remains is the simple miracle of moving through space alive. Consider the difference between rushing across a street in distraction and walking slowly across a garden in awareness. The first leaves no memory. The second lingers like perfume. Which one feels more like living? Walking meditation teaches us that every step, no matter how ordinary, can carry the quality of the sacred. The sidewalk can become a temple, the kitchen floor a monastery, the hallway a pilgrimage route. Wherever you walk with awareness, the world reveals itself more fully. There is a story of a disciple who complained to his Zen master, "My mind is restless. I cannot find peace even in sitting meditation." The master replied, "Then stop sitting. Go walk." At first, the disciple's thoughts continued to swirl, but with each deliberate step, they grew quieter, until one day he realized he was not thinking of past or future. He was simply walking. For the first time in many days, he was at peace. You can try this today. Choose a path, a hallway, a garden, even from your bed to the window. Walk slowly, deliberately, synchronizing step with breath. If the mind wanders, do not scold it. Simply return to the feet. Heel, sole, toes, present, here, now. Each return is a victory. Each return is a reminder that you are home in yourself. At first, this practice may feel awkward. You may feel self-conscious, silly even, walking so slowly. But soon the body remembers. This is not new, after all. Children walk this way instinctively, savoring each step, arriving fully in their play. It is we adults who have forgotten. Walking meditation is simply remembering. There is a haiku that captures this spirit. Step upon the earth, not to reach another place, but to touch this one. This is the essence of walking as meditation. You are not walking to arrive somewhere else. You are walking to arrive here. Each step is not a bridge to the future, but a homecoming to the present. So tomorrow, when your feet meet the ground, pause. Walk as though your soul were watching. Walk as though each step were a bow. Walk not to reach, but to arrive. And discover for yourself that the miracle is not somewhere distant. The miracle is under your very feet, present here now, as a footfall mantra. There are many mantras in the world, syllables chanted in temples, verses whispered in prayer, affirmations repeated in quiet rooms. They are powerful not because of the words themselves, but because of their rhythm. A mantra steadies the mind, the way a lullaby soothes a restless child. But you do not need to travel to a monastery or memorize ancient Sanskrit to find a mantra. You already carry one in your body, waiting beneath your feet. Each step you take can become a mantra, present, here, now. Think of the rhythm of walking. The heel touches down. The sole rolls forward, the toes lift. Again and again, a simple cycle repeating itself. Left, right, left, right. The constancy of this rhythm is why walking has always been used for prayer. Pilgrims walk across deserts and mountains, each step a petition, each mile a devotion. Soldiers march in formation to steady courage. Children pace when restless, seeking instinctive comfort in movement. The body already knows that walking is medicine. When you add a mantra, you transform it into meditation. Try this. As your heel touches the ground, whisper inwardly, present. As the soul makes contact, whisper, here. As the toes press off, whisper, now, present, here, now. Step after step, the words become woven into your body. They are no longer ideas but sensations. Your feet carry the mantra more faithfully than your mind ever could. Why does this matter? Because the mind is rarely present. It leaps forward into worry, backward into regret, sideways into comparison. The body, meanwhile, is always now. Walking meditation uses the body's faithfulness to anchor the mind's wandering. The mantra links them together, mind and body reunited by rhythm. Slowly, the distance between thought and step collapses, and you find yourself truly inhabiting this moment. The Stoics, though they did not use the word mantra, practiced something similar. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "Do not waste the rest of your life in thoughts about others when you neglect to direct your own soul." He meant, return to the present. Do not scatter yourself in distractions. Do not lose yourself in what is beyond your control. This is what present, here, now, accomplishes. It gathers the scattered fragments of attention and returns them to the immediacy of life. At first, you may notice resistance. The mind will protest. "This is silly. I know I am here already. Why keep repeating it?" But the practice is not about knowing. It is about remembering. The mind forgets endlessly. Each repetition is a reminder. Each step is a return. Consider how often you walk without noticing it at all. You move from room to room and have no memory of the journey. The body carried you, but the mind was elsewhere. Hours later, you may not remember entire stretches of your day. This is life slipping by unnoticed. The mantra prevents that. It says, attend, arrive. Do not let your life vanish into the fog of inattention. There is a Zen story of a monk asked what he did all day. He replied, "I walk, I eat, I sleep." The questioner laughed. "But everyone does that." The monk smiled. "Yes, but when I walk, I know I am walking. When I eat, I know I am eating. When I sleep, I know I am sleeping. This is the difference presence makes. Walking with a mantra is a way of knowing that you are walking, not just moving unconsciously from place to place. Try practicing it during the most ordinary walks across your living room, down a hallway, to the mailbox. Do not wait for a pilgrimage trail or a temple garden. Begin where you are. Step, whisper, arrive. Step, whisper, arrive. Soon you will notice something shift. The air feels more vivid, the floor steadier beneath you. Even the simplest space begins to shimmer with aliveness. And if the mind wanders, as it surely will, do not treat that as failure. Simply notice, smile gently at the wandering, then return. Heel touches present, soul rolls here, toes lift now. Each return is not a defeat, but a triumph. Each return strengthens the path. There is a haiku that could serve as companion. With each steady step, earth whispers beneath my feet. You are here, right now. The earth is always whispering this, but we rarely hear it. Walking with a mantra trains the ear of the heart to listen again. The benefits ripple outward. When you practice being present in walking, you become more present in living. Conversations feel richer, meals taste fuller, moments of beauty are more easily noticed. Life, once blurred by hurry, sharpens into clarity. The mantra does not just steady the step, it steadies the soul. So tomorrow, when you walk, even if only across your room, try it. Heel, present, soul, here, toes, now, again and again, until the words dissolve and only presence remains. And when you arrive at your destination, you will discover that you have not only arrived there, you have arrived in yourself. When the body leads, the mind rests. We often imagine that peace comes from solving the mind. We try to think our way out of worry, to reason ourselves into calm, to untangle anxieties by pulling harder at their knots. But the mind rarely quiets the mind. Like a restless child, the more attention you give its tantrum, the louder it grows. There is another way, older, gentler, simpler. Let the body lead, and the mind will follow. Walking meditation is the clearest example of this truth. The body does not wander into past and future. The body is always here. It is the mind that flees, that rehearses arguments long finished, or anticipates fears not yet born. When you let the body set the rhythm, heel, sole, toes, the mind begins to sink. It has no choice. Step by step, the restless chatter is drawn into the cadence of motion until thought itself softens and rests. There is a Zen story of a disciple who complained, "Master, my mind will not sit still. It runs endlessly, no matter how I try." The master smiled and said, "Then stop sitting, go walk." At first, the disciple's thoughts swirled with each step, but slowly, the rhythm of his body became louder than the rhythm of his mind. By the end of the path, he realized he had not been thinking of the past or the future. He had been present. The body had led him home. Consider your own experience. How many times have you paced without meaning to, while waiting for news, while speaking on the phone, while restless with thought? Movement calmed you, even without awareness. The body knew what the mind forgot. Rhythm soothes. When the heart pounds with fear, walking regulates. When the mind loops in circles, walking draws it forward. When life feels stagnant, walking reminds you that motion is possible. The Stoics also trusted the body's role. Marcus Aurelius, weary of endless debates, wrote that sometimes philosophy is not in words but in posture, in presence, in action. To walk with dignity, he said, is already to practice wisdom. What he meant is that truth is embodied, not just thought. The way you carry yourself carries your mind. Walking upright, slowly, steadily, becomes not just a physical gesture but a moral one. The body teaches the soul by example. Walking meditation is not about distance or speed. It is about surrender. It is about trusting that the body knows how to be present even when the mind resists. When you walk slowly, breathing deeply, the nervous system receives signals of safety. Shoulders drop, the jaw loosens. The rhythm of steps lulls the mind like the rocking of a cradle. Soon, the thoughts that felt urgent dissolve into the background. The mind rests not because you forced it, but because the body invited it to. Try this tomorrow. Step outside or into a quiet hallway. Begin walking slowly, heel touching, sole rolling, toes lifting. Do not demand stillness from the mind. Do not try to silence thought. Simply let the body move with awareness. Breathe in as one foot lifts. Breathe out as it sets down. Soon, you will notice the shift. The body leads, the breath anchors, and the mind, once restless, begins to settle like a jar of water after being shaken. Even science now affirms what monks knew centuries ago. Studies show that slow, deliberate walking regulates the nervous system, bridging the two hemispheres of the brain, easing anxiety and enhancing creativity. The ancients discovered this without laboratories. They felt it in their bones. When the body finds rhythm, the mind finds rest. There is a haiku that captures the essence: footprints on the path, mind quiet in their shadow, resting as I walk. This is the paradox of walking meditation. You rest not by stopping movement, but by surrendering to it. The body's gentle repetition becomes a lullaby for the mind. In daily life, we can practice this wherever we are, walking from car to office, from kitchen to bedroom, from one meeting to the next. Instead of rushing unconsciously, walk deliberately. Let your body show your mind how to arrive. Over time, you will notice that rest is not only in stillness, but in motion guided by awareness. So the next time your mind feels like a storm, do not fight it with more thought. Place your feet on the ground. Walk slowly, steadily. Trust the body to lead. And as it does, you will find that the mind, tired of running, at last lays its head down in the rhythm of your steps. Pace, dignity, and seeing details. Watch a group of monks walking in silence through a monastery garden. Their robes brush gently against the earth. Their eyes are lowered, their steps deliberate. To an outsider, it may look simple, almost uneventful, just walking, one foot after the other. But linger long enough, and you will sense something profound in their pace. There is no hurry, no waste, no restlessness. Their walking radiates dignity, not the dignity of pride, but the dignity of presence. Each step says, "This moment matters. This step is complete." Walking meditation is not only about slowing down, it is about aligning pace with presence. When you rush, your body and mind fall out of harmony. The body moves quickly, but the mind is elsewhere, lagging behind in memory or racing ahead in anticipation. The dissonance creates exhaustion, a sense of being torn between past and future. But when pace slows to meet awareness, body and mind walk together. In that union, dignity arises. The Stoics spoke of this same quality in a different way. They emphasized composure, sophrosine, the steadiness of one who is not ruled by impulse. Seneca wrote that a wise person carries themselves with a calm demeanor in all situations, as though life's storms cannot shake their center. To walk with composure is to declare through the body, "I am not at the mercy of hurry." Each slow step becomes an act of resistance against the culture of rushing. It is a reclaiming of dignity in a world addicted to speed. Slowness is not laziness, it is reverence. Think of how you move through a museum when you truly care to see the art. You linger, you pause, you look closely. The same is true for walking meditation. You are not trying to reach a destination, you are trying to see the world along the way. And in slowing down, details hidden in the blur of hurry begin to emerge. Imagine walking down a familiar sidewalk at half your usual speed. At first, impatience may rise, but soon you notice things. The texture of the pavement, the cracks filled with moss, the tiny ant carrying food across a stone, the way light filters through leaves overhead. The world reveals itself in layers. What was once background becomes foreground. You begin to see not just the path, but the details that make it alive. This is one of the great gifts of walking meditation. It sharpens vision. Rushing blinds us. Slowness reveals. The Zen masters say enlightenment is not hidden in some distant realm. It is hidden in plain sight, in the curve of a leaf, the glint of dew, the sound of your own footfall. But to notice, you must slow enough to look. pace also changes the way you feel. When you rush, your body absorbs the tension of urgency. Shoulders tighten, breath shortens, steps pound. When you slow, the body loosens, the breath deepens, the ground feels more supportive beneath you. Dignity returns, not as something you put on, but as something that emerges naturally when you refuse to be pulled by haste. Consider a haiku that embodies this spirit. Slow step in the rain. Each drop falls with quiet grace, teaching me my pace. The rain does not hurry, yet it nourishes. The trees do not rush, yet they grow. The sun does not sprint across the sky, yet it lights the entire world. To walk with dignity is to walk in harmony with nature's own rhythm. There is a story of a student who once followed his Zen master on a walk through the forest. The student noticed how the master's steps seemed weightless, yet grounded, dignified, yet humble. "Master," the student asked, "how do you walk like that?" The master smiled and replied, "I do not walk to get somewhere. I walk to be here." In that answer lay the secret. Pace and dignity arise not from technique, but from intention. When each step is an arrival, dignity is inevitable. You can practice this anywhere. The next time you walk through a crowded street, let your pace soften slightly. Notice how your awareness widens. The noise of traffic, the rush of people, the glare of storefronts, none of it needs to unsettle you. Your slower pace becomes its own sanctuary. You walk in the middle of chaos with the calm of a monk in a garden. And if you cannot slow outwardly, if life demands speed, then carry inner slowness. Even as you walk quickly, breathe deeply. Even as your body moves fast, let your mind whisper, present, here, now. Dignity is not only in pace, it is in awareness. The body may rush, but the spirit need not. At night, reflect on the pace of your day. Did you rush blindly, or did you walk with awareness? Did you notice details, or did the world pass as a blur? Gratitude can be practiced here too. Give thanks for each moment you remembered to slow, each detail you noticed, each step you walked with dignity. Over time, this gratitude will strengthen the practice until slowness becomes second nature. The Stoics and Buddhists alike remind us that life is not a race. There is no finish line waiting with prizes. To hurry through it is to miss it. Walking with dignity is a rebellion against this illusion. It says, "I refuse to measure my life in speed. I choose to measure it in presence." So tomorrow, when you step onto your path, whether it is a quiet hallway, a busy sidewalk, or a forest trail, slow down. Let your body and mind meet. Walk as though the ground were sacred. Notice the details, the light, the sound, the small signs of life around you. Carry yourself with dignity, not as performance, but as presence. And discover that in the simple act of walking with pace and awareness, the whole world reveals itself anew, making corridors and sidewalks sacred. When we think of sacred places, we imagine mountains draped in mist, temples lit with incense, or forest trails alive with birdsong. But the truth, known by monks and sages across centuries, is that sacredness is not confined to geography. It lives in the quality of attention we bring to any space. A temple can be built of stone, but it can also be built of steps. A corridor can become a cloister. A sidewalk can become a pilgrimage path. What makes the ground sacred is not where it is, but how we walk upon it. The Buddha taught that the miracle is not to walk on water, but to walk on earth. This is not metaphor alone. It is a reminder that the sacred is already beneath our feet, waiting to be recognized. Every step, no matter how ordinary, can be a bow. Every surface, marble floor, cracked pavement, kitchen tile, can be an altar. The practice is to remember. Imagine yourself tomorrow morning. You rise from bed, the day ahead filled with errands, work, obligations. You walk across the bedroom floor, pause, place one foot gently, whisper inwardly, present, another foot, here, another, now. Suddenly, the wooden floorboards are not just boards. They are earth holding you, carrying you, supporting you. That hallway is not just transit, it is temple. The difference is not in the wood, the difference is in your awareness. Monks in Zen monasteries often practice kinhin, or walking meditation, indoors. They walk slowly, back and forth across the same stretch of floor, robes swaying, sandals soft against stone. The hallway is plain, sometimes austere, yet in their presence it becomes sacred. They prove that you do not need mountain vistas to find holiness. You need only to bring holiness to the space you already occupy. The Stoics, too, lived in cities, not always in solitude. Marcus Aurelius walked palace corridors filled with politics and noise, yet he carried silence within. He reminded himself daily that dignity was not dependent on setting, but on posture, intention, and choice. To walk with awareness, even in a crowded forum, was to live aligned with reason and virtue. For him, the palace could become a monastery if walked rightly. This is the invitation to sacralize the ordinary, to see the sidewalk not as an inconvenience, but as a path, to see the grocery store aisle not as wasted time, but as an opportunity to breathe, to return, to practice presence. The ground beneath your feet, wherever you are, can become a meditation hall. Try this today. The next time you step outside, whether onto cracked pavement or a busy street, pause. Feel the contact of your soul with the ground. Whisper inwardly, "Thank you," not necessarily to anyone, but to life itself, for holding you, for letting you walk. Each step becomes an offering, a blessing exchanged between foot and earth. If you repeat this even for a block, you will notice something shift. The city noise fades, not because it stops, but because your attention is steady. The sidewalk becomes sacred ground. There is a story of a monk asked why he moved so slowly, even in crowded streets. He replied, "Because every step is a prayer, and I do not wish to rush my prayers." Imagine carrying that spirit into your own errands, your own commutes, the corridor at work, the walk from parking lot to office, the hallway in your home. All can become spaces of reverence if walked with prayerful presence. At first, others may not notice. They may rush past, hurrying, distracted, living elsewhere in thought. But over time, they may sense something in your pace, your presence, your steadiness. Sacredness radiates quietly. It does not need to be declared. It is felt. Just as incense lingers in the air unseen, your calm presence will linger in the spaces you walk. Science even affirms the value of this. Studies show that mindful walking, even in mundane environments, lowers stress, reduces rumination, and improves mood. The body responds not to scenery alone, but to the quality of attention. The nervous system softens when steps are conscious, no matter where they fall. There is a haiku that captures this truth. Sidewalk after rain. Each puddle reflects the sky, temple in the street. The world is full of unnoticed temples, puddles, lamplight, stairwells, hallways. Walking with awareness reveals them. Of course, you will forget. You will hurry. You will stomp across corridors without reverence, rush sidewalks lost in thought. That is natural. The practice is not to walk perfectly, but to return. Each time you remember, the ground becomes sacred again. Each return is a consecration. So let this be your experiment. For one day, treat every path you walk as holy. Step gently, breathe deeply, whisper inwardly, present, here, now. Gather the jewels of detail, the sound of your footsteps, the shape of shadows, the rhythm of your breath. At night, reflect on how it felt. Did the ordinary feel different? Did sidewalks shimmer with more life? Did hallways carry more stillness? The secret is simple. Sacredness is not in the mountain or the monastery. It is in the step. It is in the breath. It is in the awareness you bring. To make corridors and sidewalks sacred is to make life itself sacred. For life is not lived only in temples or gardens. It is lived in kitchens, in offices, in streets. If you can walk reverently there, you can walk reverently anywhere. So tomorrow, when you step into your first corridor, pause. Remember, this is sacred ground. Place your foot with care, with presence, with gratitude, and discover that holiness has been beneath your feet all along. Regulate through the body. Roots in the storm. When a storm rises suddenly, the branches of a tree whip and twist in the wind. Leaves scatter. Small branches may even snap, but deep beneath the surface, the roots hold. They spread wide, anchored in the soil, unmoved by the violence above. The storm may howl, but the roots do not waver, so it can be with us. Emotions arrive like storms: anger, fear, sorrow, anxiety. They shake the branches of our being, tossing thought into chaos, scattering words we later regret. But beneath the storm, if we remember to return to the body, there are roots, and in the roots there is peace. The Buddha taught that emotions are impermanent. They arise, swell, and pass away like waves. But when we identify completely with them, when we mistake the storm for the sky, we suffer needlessly. The storm will always pass, but if we cling to it, we are tossed endlessly. The Stoics, too, echoed this truth. Epictetus reminded his students that events are not the cause of suffering. It is our interpretation, our entanglement, that makes them unbearable. Both traditions invite us to anchor ourselves when storms arise, not in thought, which is swept up easily, but in the body, which knows how to hold steady. Consider what happens in anger. The mind races, replaying the insult, inventing clever retorts, feeding the fire with memory and imagination. The more you think, the hotter the flame burns. But if, instead, you drop your attention into the body, you notice the tightening of the jaw, the quickening of the breath, the pounding in the chest. You do not analyze, you feel, you breathe into it. Already the fire begins to cool. The storm has not vanished, but you have found your roots. Try this practice the next time emotion rises. Place both feet firmly on the ground. Imagine roots spreading from your soles deep into the earth. Cross your hands over your chest, one palm over the heart, the other over the belly. Breathe slowly and deeply, filling the lower hand first, then the upper. With each exhale, imagine the storm above, but the roots holding below. Whisper inwardly, I do not need to understand, I only need to be present. This is not denial, it is anchoring. The storm may continue, but you are rooted. Science now affirms what sages knew. When the nervous system is agitated, the body can guide it back. Deep breathing signals safety, telling the brain that fight or flight is no longer necessary. Posture communicates stability. Grounding the feet sends a message of support. These small physical acts regulate emotion more effectively than hours of analysis. The body knows calm more quickly than the mind. There is a haiku that captures the truth. Wind bends tall branches, but roots drink deeply, unmoved, calm beneath the storm. This is the essence of regulating through the body. You do not fight the wind, you remember your roots. The Stoics practiced similar anchoring. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when insulted, he reminded himself, it is not the thing itself that disturbs me, but my judgment about it. By noticing his breath, his body, his posture, he broke the chain of reaction. He refused to be carried off by the storm of another's words. He planted his feet and stood in dignity. But this practice is not only for anger. Fear, too, can be held in the body. Anxiety, sorrow, grief, all arise not only as thoughts but as sensations. Tightness in the chest, fluttering in the stomach, heaviness in the shoulders. To return to the body is to meet these emotions where they live. To breathe into them is to soften their grip. To feel them without running is to remember that you are larger than the storm. At night, you can rehearse this anchoring. Lie in bed, place your hands on chest and belly, and breathe slowly. Imagine roots spreading beneath you. Recall a recent storm of emotion and picture yourself rooted through it. This rehearsal strengthens the path. When the real storm comes, the body will remember. You will forget, of course. There will be times when the storm carries you away, when words are spoken, actions taken, regrets gathered. Do not despair. Even trees lose branches in storms. What matters is not perfection but return. Each time you remember to ground, you strengthen your roots. Over time, the storms shake you less. So tomorrow, when emotion rises, pause. Place your feet on the ground. Cross your hands over your chest. Breathe deep. Whisper inwardly, I am rooted. I am here. The storm will pass. And notice how, beneath the storm, calm has already been waiting. Hands on the chest, breath as medicine. There are moments when words are useless. The mind spins with explanations, arguments, and stories, yet none of them soothe the ache within. In those moments, the most powerful medicine is not thought but touch, not logic but breath. Place your hands gently on your chest. Breathe deeply, and you will discover that the body itself knows how to heal. From the moment we are born, touch is our first language. A newborn pressed against its mother's chest calms instantly at the rhythm of her breath and heartbeat. Long before we understood words, we understood presence. That wisdom does not disappear. It only gets buried under noise. To place your hands on your chest as an adult is to return to that primal reassurance. It is to tell your nervous system, I am safe enough now. I can rest. Breathe with your hands resting there. Inhale slowly through the nose, letting the lower hand over your belly rise first, then the upper hand over your chest. Feel the expansion, the wave of air filling you from bottom to top. Then exhale gently through the mouth, as though releasing not only air but tension, fear, and heaviness. Repeat this 3 times, then again until your body softens. With each cycle, the mind receives the signal, all is well enough, you may loosen your grip. The Buddha often taught that the body is a gateway to liberation. When the mind is restless, return to the breath. When emotions roar, return to the breath. The Stoics said the same in their own way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. That estimate lives in the body as shallow breath, tense muscles, racing pulse. By changing the breath, you change the estimate. You remind the whole being that the world is not ending, that you are still here, that presence is possible." Science echoes this wisdom. When hands rest on the chest and breath deepens, the vagus nerve is stimulated, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the body's natural rest and digest mode. Cortisol levels fall, heart rate slows. The mind, sensing the body's calm, begins to match it. This is not superstition, it is physiology. The body carries within it the switch to peace, and breath is the hand that flips it. Imagine a moment of anger. Words rise like fire, ready to spill out. Instead of speaking, pause. Place your hands gently on your chest. Breathe once, slowly. Feel the heart pounding beneath your palms. Whisper inwardly, "I am here." Already the flame softens. The body hears before the mind listens. Or imagine a moment of fear, anxiety swelling, thoughts racing into catastrophe. Again, hands on chest, breath slow and steady. Each inhale reminds you that life continues. Each exhale releases what you cannot control. This practice can be done anywhere. In a crowded office, in a bathroom stall, in a car before a meeting. No one needs to notice. It is subtle, invisible, yet profoundly transformative. Your hands are always with you. Your breath is always with you. Together, they are the simplest medicine. There is a haiku that captures the essence. Hands over my heart, breath rising like a soft tide. Storm begins to fade. Touch and breath, these are the tide that pulls us back from the edge. You may doubt this at first. The mind insists, my problems are too big. Breathing cannot fix them, and that is true. Breath does not fix circumstances, but it changes your relationship to them. It shifts you from drowning in panic to standing in presence. From that ground, you can act more wisely, respond more gently, endure more patiently. Breath is not the solution to every problem. It is the doorway through which every solution becomes possible. At night, you can use this practice to prepare for rest. Lie down, hands on chest and belly, breathing deeply. With each inhale, say silently, I receive. With each exhale, I release. Receive life, release tension. Receive presence, release regret. Slowly, sleep will come not as an escape, but as a continuation of this gentle rhythm. And if you forget, if anger spills, if fear overwhelms, if worry wins, do not condemn yourself. Return as soon as you remember. Even one breath with hands on the chest can reset the nervous system. Each return strengthens the habit. Each repetition teaches the body to respond more quickly next time. There is a story told of a monk who taught his disciples to place their hands over their hearts each time they bowed. "Why do we do this?" one asked. The monk replied, "Because before we bow to the world, we bow to life within us. We remember the heart that beats without our command, the breath that carries us without our effort. Gratitude is born here. That is the deeper secret of this practice. It is not only regulation, it is reverence. Each time you place your hands on your chest, you are not only calming the body, you are honoring life itself. You are acknowledging the silent miracle that your heart still beats, your lungs still rise, your body still carries you. That recognition alone is enough to transform fear into gratitude. So the next time you feel the storm rising, pause. Place your hands gently on your chest. Breathe deeply. Whisper softly, "I am here. I am safe enough. I can rest." Let the body teach the mind. Let breath be your medicine. And discover that peace is not far away. It is already beneath your palms, waiting for you to remember. Safety signals for a nervous system. The body is always listening. Long before the mind has crafted its stories of fear or comfort, the nervous system is scanning the world for signals, safe or unsafe, welcome or threat. This scanning is ancient, older than language, older even than conscious thought. It hums in the background of every moment, shaping how we feel and how we respond. When we are anxious, reactive, or restless, it is often because the nervous system has misread the world as dangerous and is bracing for attack. The good news is that we can send signals back, gentle reminders that say, "You are safe enough now. You can rest." The Buddha once compared the mind to a jar of water. When shaken, it clouds. But if set down gently, the dirt settles and clarity returns. The nervous system is the same. When life shakes us through conflict, stress, or uncertainty, we lose clarity. We are swept into fight, flight, or freeze. But the body, through simple signals, can be set down. Breath, posture, and touch are ways of telling the nervous system, the storm is passing. You can loosen your grip. Consider the breath. Shallow, rapid breathing tells the body that danger is near. It prepares muscles to run, heart to race, mind to scan. But slow, deep breathing sends the opposite signal. It says, the threat is gone. It is safe enough to relax. Each exhale is like a hand gently smoothing ripples on water. This is why nearly every wisdom tradition begins with breath. It is the most direct line of communication to the nervous system. Now consider posture. A hunched spine, shoulders curled inward, chest collapsed. These are the shapes of defense, of protection. They tell the body, stay small, danger is near. But when you roll the shoulders back, lift the chest, soften the face, you send a different message. You are telling the nervous system, I am not under attack. I can open, I can breathe. The Stoics spoke of carrying oneself with dignity, not for appearance but for inner stability. To stand tall is to remind both yourself and the world, I am steady. Touch is another safety signal. Place a hand on the chest, as we explored earlier, or cross the arms gently across the body. These gestures mimic the comfort of being held. They trigger the body's memory of safety, of warmth, of connection. Even if no one else is present, your own touch can say, "You are not alone. You are cared for." Modern neuroscience confirms this. Gentle self-touch lowers cortisol and increases oxytocin, the hormone of trust and calm. What monks and mystics practiced as ritual, science now names as physiology. Think of a child who wakes in the night crying. Words alone do not soothe. What calms is the parent's presence, the rocking, the holding, the rhythm of breath shared. We are no different as adults. Our nervous system still listens for these signals, still softens when it receives them. The tragedy is that we often deny ourselves this care, believing comfort must come from thought. But thought rarely convinces the body. Signals do. Try this in a moment of unease. Pause. Sit comfortably. Breathe deeply into the belly, letting the exhale last longer than the inhale. Lift your posture slightly, shoulders back, chest open. Place one hand over your heart. Whisper inwardly, safe enough now. Notice the shift. It may be subtle at first, a small loosening of the jaw, a slight easing in the stomach. With repetition, the body learns to trust these signals, and the nervous system recalibrates. There is a haiku that speaks to this practice. Chest rises slowly. Hands remind the heart of peace. Storm begins to fade. Each signal is small, but together they are powerful. Of course, life will bring real threats. Gratitude and breath cannot erase danger, but most of the time, our suffering does not come from lions at the door. It comes from imagined lions, from arguments replayed, from futures rehearsed, from comparisons drawn. The nervous system reacts as if these mental lions were real. Safety signals remind the body, this is not a lion, this is memory, this is imagination. The ground beneath you is steady, the breath within you is alive. You can soften. The Stoics practiced something similar through daily exercises. They imagined losses, insults, hardships not to frighten themselves, but to train their nervous systems to remain steady in the face of them. Epictetus would say, when difficulty arises, remind yourself, this is not new. You have trained for this. The body too can be trained. Each time you send it signals of safety, you are building resilience. You are teaching it to rest more easily, to trust more quickly, to recover more gracefully. At night, practice this before sleep. Lie down, close your eyes, and breathe deeply. Stretch your arms wide, signaling openness. Then curl them gently around yourself, signaling safety. Alternate between the two. Openness and safety. Openness and safety. Whisper, I am held. I am safe enough. I can rest. Soon, the nervous system will release its grip and sleep will come. And if you forget in the moment, if panic rises, if anger spills, if fear tightens, do not despair. Even one breath, even one adjustment of posture, even one gentle touch is enough to begin the return. The nervous system is forgiving. It is always listening. It will always respond to your signals, however late they come. So tomorrow, when unease stirs, do not only argue with your thoughts, send signals to your body. Breathe slowly, stand tall, place a hand on your chest, whisper gently, safe enough now, and notice how, step by step, the storm loosens its grip, naming without clinging, When strong emotions rise, our first instinct is often to wrestle with them. We analyze, debate, justify, or condemn. We treat anger like an opponent to be defeated, sadness like a weakness to be hidden, fear like an enemy to be exiled. But the more we fight, the tighter their grip becomes. Emotions are like quicksand. Struggle only pulls us deeper. The wiser practice is simpler, quieter, more compassionate. Name what is present. This is anger. This is grief. This is fear, and let it be. In naming, we create space. In space, we find freedom. The Buddha compared emotions to visitors arriving at the door of the mind. You do not need to throw them out or make them permanent guests. You need only greet them politely. Hello, anger. I see you. You may stay for a while, but I know you will also leave. By naming without clinging, you acknowledge the visitor without surrendering your home. You honor the truth of their presence, but you do not confuse them for your identity. Modern psychology echoes this in the practice of affect labeling. Studies show that when people name their emotions, even silently, the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, calms. The storm loses intensity simply by being named. This is anger is more powerful than I am angry. The difference is subtle but profound. I am angry fuses identity with emotion. This is anger creates space between self and storm. You are the sky. Anger is a cloud passing through. The Stoics practiced something similar. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, do not say, I have been harmed. Say instead, I have perceived it as harm. Remove the judgment, and the harm itself disappears. Naming without clinging is the same principle. By observing anger as anger, fear as fear, you strip away the unnecessary story. You see emotion as passing weather, not as permanent climate. Consider a moment of rage. The body tightens, the mind spins, words rush to the tongue. If you say, I am furious, the fury consumes you. But if you pause, breathe, and say inwardly, this is anger, something shifts. You are no longer drowning in it. You are watching it. You are no longer the flame. You are the witness of fire. The emotion is still there, but it no longer defines you. There is a Zen story of a monk asked by his student, Master, what do you do when anger arises? The master replied, I say to myself, this is anger, and then I bow. The student was puzzled. Why bow? The master smiled. Because anger is also part of life. To bow is to respect its impermanence. This is the essence. To name without clinging is not to push emotions away, but to bow to them, to honor their presence without giving them power. Try this practice in your own life. The next time an emotion swells, pause. Close your eyes if you can. Breathe deeply once or twice. Then say inwardly, this is, and name it. This is frustration. This is grief. This is worry. Speak to it gently, as though greeting a guest. Then continue to breathe. Notice how even this simple act loosens the grip. The emotion is still there, but you are no longer trapped in its story. There is a haiku that captures the practice. Cloud drifts through the sky. I whisper its name softly and watch it pass on. Naming does not make the cloud vanish, but it reminds you that you are the sky, not the cloud. Some people fear that naming emotions gives them power, as though acknowledging anger makes it stronger. The opposite is true. What we refuse to name becomes more dangerous. Denied, it festers. Unspoken, it drives our actions unconsciously. By naming, we bring it into light, and light dissolves shadows. The Stoics and Buddhists agree on this. Clarity is freedom. When you see clearly, you are less likely to be controlled. When you say, "This is fear," you no longer run blindly. When you say, "This is sadness," you no longer collapse under its weight. You stand, breathing, aware. You see the storm, and because you see it, you can wait for it to pass. At night, you can rehearse this practice. Recall the day. Remember a moment when an emotion rose strongly. Instead of replaying the story, replay the naming. That was anger. That was loneliness. That was relief. Whisper it softly. Imagine yourself bowing to each, like greeting a guest who stayed briefly and then left. This rehearsal teaches the mind to remember in the heat of the moment. Slowly the habit forms. Before clinging, you name. Before drowning, you float. Of course, you will forget. You will say, "I am angry," instead of, "This is anger." You will identify with fear, with jealousy, with grief. That is natural. Do not scold yourself. Even the remembering afterward is part of practice. Each time you recall, you strengthen the path. Each time you try again, the habit grows. The gift of naming without clinging is not only emotional regulation, it is also compassion. When you see emotions as passing visitors rather than enemies, you soften toward yourself. Instead of blaming yourself for feeling anger or sorrow, you say, "Ah, anger is here today. Grief is here today." You become a host, not a judge. And when you treat yourself this way, you begin to treat others the same. You recognize their anger, their fear, as passing storms too. Compassion grows naturally from clarity. So tomorrow, when a strong feeling rises, pause, breathe, name it softly. This is anger, this is fear, this is sadness. Let the words create space. Let space bring freedom. And remember, you are not the storm. You are the sky that holds it. Returning to the body on difficult days. Not every day is gentle. Some days arrive heavy, carrying grief, exhaustion, or anxiety like stones in their hands. On such days, even the simplest actions feel burdensome. The mind is restless, the heart unsettled, the body weary. We try to solve our unease with thought, analyzing, explaining, bargaining, but thought only multiplies the weight. The more we turn ideas over, the sharper their edges become. What if, instead of spinning the mind further, we chose to return to the body? On difficult days, this return is not luxury, it is survival. The Buddha taught that mindfulness of the body is the first foundation of awareness. When the mind cannot be trusted, when thought feels like enemy instead of ally, the body remains a faithful anchor. The Stoics echoed this in their own way. When overwhelmed, Marcus Aurelius advised himself to return to the present moment, to the simple fact of breath, to the ground beneath his feet. "Do not be carried off," he wrote. "Return to yourself. The mind can stand firm if it leans upon itself." Both teachings point to the same truth. The body is the doorway back to steadiness. Imagine waking into a difficult day. Already the chest is tight, the mind racing with worries. Instead of reaching immediately for distraction, pause. Place both feet flat on the floor. Feel the ground holding you. Breathe deeply, filling the belly first, then the chest. Place a hand over the heart. Whisper softly, I am here. I am still breathing. I can take one step. This is not denial. It is remembrance. You remind the nervous system that life is still here, that not everything is broken, that the body remains a sanctuary. On such days, simplicity is medicine. Do not demand elaborate rituals or long meditations. Instead, anchor in small, repeatable acts. Feel the sensation of warm water on your hands. Notice the contact of your back against a chair. Walk slowly across a room, aware of each footfall. These are not escapes, they are returns. Each small act of noticing is like placing a stone in a foundation. Slowly, the structure of steadiness is rebuilt. There is a Zen story of a monk overwhelmed by sorrow. He went to his master and said, I cannot sit. My thoughts are too heavy. What should I do? The master replied, then sweep. So the monk swept the courtyard. The next day he returned. The sorrow is still here. The master said, then chop wood. The monk obeyed. Again he returned. Still sorrow. The master smiled. Then carry water. Slowly the monk understood. The point was not to eliminate sorrow, but to ground himself in the body. Sweeping, chopping, carrying these simple acts became anchors. They reminded him that life continues even amid sorrow, and that peace begins in the body. Difficult days narrow our vision. Gratitude feels impossible, meditation unreachable, but the body is always accessible. Even in grief, you can feel breath moving. Even in fear, you can feel the ground beneath you. Even in despair, you can place a hand over your chest and notice the heart still beating. These are the small doorways back to presence. And presence, even in pain, carries a kind of peace. There is a haiku that speaks to this. Storm clouds overhead, but beneath my steady feet, earth has not trembled. The earth beneath you has not left. The breath within you has not abandoned you. The body remains faithful, even when the mind betrays. Science supports this wisdom. On days of high stress, when the prefrontal cortex of the brain, the seat of reason, goes offline, the body can restore balance. Slow breathing activates the vagus nerve, calming the nervous system. Grounding exercises, touching surfaces, feeling textures return attention to the here and now. Movement, even simple walking, discharges tension and resets the brain. The body offers dozens of small, reliable ways to self-regulate. You may resist at first. The mind insists, this is too simple. My problems are too big for breath and posture. But simplicity is exactly what difficult days require. You do not heal a storm by fighting it. You endure by anchoring. The small practices of the body do not solve every problem, but they give you enough steadiness to face problems without breaking. Try creating a body toolkit for difficult days. Write down 3 or 4 practices you can lean on when the storm rises. For example, place feet on the ground, press toes gently into earth, breathe slowly, cross arms over chest, squeeze lightly, whisper, safe enough now. Walk slowly, heel to toe, repeating, present, here, now. Drink a glass of water mindfully, noticing its coolness, its gift. Keep this toolkit simple. On the hardest days, you may only manage one. That is enough. Each act is a thread that ties you back to the present. Enough threads woven together become a rope. strong enough to pull you through. At night, reflect gently. Ask yourself, where did I return to my body today? Do not count failures, count returns. Each return is a triumph. Even if the day was heavy from start to finish, the fact that you remembered even once to breathe, to ground, to touch, is victory. Over time, these victories accumulate. You become more resilient, more anchored, more at home in yourself, even on difficult days. The Stoics taught that we cannot control the winds, but we can adjust our sails. The Buddhists taught that we cannot stop waves, but we can learn to float. Returning to the body is adjusting the sail, is floating in the wave. It is the reminder that you are not powerless before storms. You carry within you the roots, the anchors, the steady ground. So when tomorrow comes heavy, as it sometimes will, do not despair. Place your feet firmly on the ground. Breathe deeply. Place a hand on your chest. Whisper softly, I am still here. I can take one step, then take it, and another. Step by step, breath by breath, you will walk through even the most difficult day rooted, not in thought, but in the body that has always carried you faithfully. Respond. Don't react. The golden pause. There is a moment so small it often goes unnoticed, yet it contains the power to change the course of your life. It is the space between stimulus and response, the breath of silence after something happens and before you act. Most of us rush through that space without awareness. Words leap from our lips before we have considered them. Actions spill from our bodies before wisdom has arrived. Emotions carry us like floodwaters downstream. This is reaction. But in the same space lies the possibility of response, a pause, a breath, a deliberate choice. This is the golden pause, and it is the difference between slavery to impulse and freedom in presence. The Buddha compared unexamined reaction to being struck by two arrows. The first arrow is the event itself, the insult, the disappointment, the pain. This arrow is unavoidable. Life will wound us. But the second arrow is self-inflicted. Our angry words, our spiraling thoughts, our unwise actions. We cannot prevent the first arrow, but we can refuse the second. The golden pause is the shield that stops us from shooting ourselves again. The Stoics, centuries apart, echoed the same wisdom. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that external events are outside his control, but his judgment and response are always his own. Both traditions point to the same truth. Between event and response lies choice. The pause is where that choice lives. Imagine someone criticizes you harshly. The first impulse may be to snap back, to defend, to wound in return. If you react immediately, the fire spreads. But if you pause even for the length of one slow breath, something shifts. In that pause, you feel the heat of anger in the chest, the rush of words forming on the tongue. You see it clearly, and in seeing, you gain freedom. You might still speak, but now you can choose. Silence, softness, clarity. The outcome changes, not because the world softened, but because you remembered the pause. Try practicing this. The next time irritation stirs, before speaking, breathe once deeply. Feel the air enter, the chest rise, the shoulders soften. Let the exhale carry the tension out. Then act. You may still feel anger, but you are no longer its servant. You are its witness. This is not suppression. It is mastery. The golden pause can be anchored with simple gestures. Touch thumb to forefinger as a reminder. Place a hand briefly on your chest. In Buddhist practice, this is a mudra. In modern terms, it is a physical cue. The body reminds the mind. Wait, breathe, choose. Over time, the pause becomes second nature. Like a muscle, it strengthens with repetition. There is a haiku that captures its spirit. Before words take flight, a breath rests between silence. Choice is born from still. The pause is where choice is born. Of course, this is difficult. Reaction is fast, instinctive, deeply wired. The nervous system evolved to respond quickly to threats. But in most modern situations, the threat is not a lion in the tall grass. It is an email, a comment, a delay in traffic. Our bodies still react with fight or flight, but rarely is such urgency needed. The golden pause updates the system. It tells the body, this is not danger, this is choice. At first, you will forget. You will react, say words you regret, act in ways that feel unwise. Do not despair. Remember afterward and reflect. Rehearse the pause at night. Picture a moment of anger and imagine yourself breathing instead of reacting. Visualize your chosen response. This mental rehearsal lays a path. The next time, you may remember sooner. Each attempt strengthens the habit. The Stoics practiced this by journaling. Each evening, Seneca reviewed his day, noting where he reacted unwisely, not to condemn himself, but to learn. Each review was a rehearsal for tomorrow. Buddhists do the same through mindfulness reflection. Both know that mastery comes not from never failing, but from returning again and again. The golden pause is not only for conflict. It can be used in joy, in decision, in sorrow. When excitement tempts you to act recklessly, pause. When fear tells you to flee unnecessarily, pause. When grief overwhelms, pause and breathe before drowning. In every domain, the pause returns you to freedom. So tomorrow, when irritation rises, when anger stirs, when fear calls you to run, pause. Breathe once deeply. Feel the space widen between event and response. Whisper inwardly, I am not a reaction, I am a choice. And notice how even a single pause can change the trajectory of a moment, a relationship, a life. The lake that reflects the sky. Imagine a still mountain lake at dawn. Its surface is smooth as glass, reflecting the sky above with perfect clarity. Every cloud, every star, every shift of color appears as though painted directly onto the water. Now imagine a stone tossed into that same lake. Ripples spread quickly, breaking the reflection into fragments. The sky has not changed, but you can no longer see it clearly. The water needs time to settle before the reflection returns. So it is with the mind. When events stir us an insult, a setback, a fear, it is as if a stone has been thrown into the lake of our consciousness. The ripples distort everything. A small comment becomes an attack. A minor inconvenience becomes catastrophe. We are no longer seeing reality, but the rippled distortion of reality. In such moments, reaction is easy, almost automatic. But if we wait, if we allow the lake to settle, we begin to see again with clarity, and clarity changes everything. The Buddha often taught that perception is like water. When calm, it reflects truth. When agitated, it misleads. This is why mindfulness emphasizes stopping, breathing, waiting. Each breath is like setting down the jar of shaken water. The dirt sinks, the ripples fade, the truth appears. The Stoics mirrored this wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are disturbed, it is not by the thing itself, but by your judgment of it, and you have the power to wipe that judgment away." In other words, let the water settle. Think of the last time you reacted in haste. Perhaps you sent a message you later regretted, or spoke words sharp with anger, or made a decision driven by fear. At the time, it felt necessary, even urgent. But later, with calmer mind, you saw differently. The situation was not as dire, the offense not as intentional, the choice not as wise. This is the difference between rippled perception and still perception. The lake distorted, then cleared. The golden pause, as we explored earlier, is the moment of letting the water settle. Try this practice in the heat of agitation. When you feel stirred, imagine your mind as a lake. Picture the ripples spreading. Acknowledge them. This is anger. This is fear. This is hurt. Then breathe slowly, watching the ripples soften with each exhale. Do not demand immediate stillness. Lakes do not settle instantly. Give yourself a breath, or 3, or 10. When clarity begins to return, then respond. You will find your words gentler, your decisions wiser, your presence steadier. There is a Zen story of 2 monks quarreling. Their master, overhearing, led them to a pond. He stirred the water with a stick until the reflection vanished. "Can you see your faces?" he asked. They shook their heads. After a while, the ripples calmed and the water cleared. "Now can you see?" he asked. They nodded. The master smiled. So it is with the mind. When agitated, it reflects nothing. When calm, it reveals truth. The Stoics, too, trained for this. Seneca advised writing letters instead of speaking when angry. The act of delay allowed the water to settle. Often, by the time the letter was finished, the anger had softened, and the words were never sent. In modern terms, we might draft an email and wait before hitting send. The principle is timeless. Wait until the lake reflects clearly before you act. There is a haiku that distills this teaching. Stone falls in water, ripples blur the quiet sky. Patience clears again. Patience is the virtue of the lake, but patience does not mean passivity. Waiting for the lake to settle is not ignoring injustice or avoiding action. It is ensuring that when you act from clarity, not confusion. The Buddha never advised indifference, nor did the Stoics preach inaction. They both taught, act from wisdom, not from impulse. The pause is what makes that possible. You can practice this in small daily irritations. When cut off in traffic, instead of reacting instantly, breathe once. Let the lake settle. When criticized, instead of replying sharply, breathe. Let the ripples fade. Over time, the habit strengthens. The nervous system learns that clarity follows patience, and you begin to respond more naturally from stillness. At night, reflect on your day. Where did you react while the water was rippled? Where did you manage to wait until it cleared? Be gentle in this reflection. Each noticing is growth. Each attempt at patience is practice. Even remembering afterwards strengthens the habit for tomorrow. In truth, the lake within us is disturbed often. Stones will always fall, words spoken by others, accidents, disappointments, fears. We cannot stop them, but we can remember that the sky remains unchanged. The clouds and stars above are still there, even when the water ripples. Our task is not to prevent stones, but to let the lake settle again and again. So tomorrow, when agitation arises, pause, imagine the lake, see the ripples, breathe until they soften, then act. In that stillness, you will reflect reality more clearly. And in that clarity, you will discover that response, not reaction, is where freedom lives. Comparison's quiet poison. There is a subtle poison that seeps into the heart, not with a sudden sting, but with a slow drip. It does not arrive as rage or despair, but as a whisper. Look at them. They are ahead of you. They are happier. They are more successful, more beautiful, more whole. This is the voice of comparison. It seems harmless, even motivating at times, but left unchecked it corrodes joy, erodes gratitude, and blinds us to the sacredness of our own path. The Buddha taught that craving is the root of suffering. Comparison is craving in disguise. It tells us that what we are is insufficient unless measured against another. The Stoics saw it as equally destructive. Epictetus warned, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid by others. He understood that freedom is impossible when our worth depends on others' judgments. To compare is to surrender sovereignty. It is to let another's life dictate the value of your own. Think of two rivers flowing side by side. One winds through valleys, slow and wide. Another rushes down mountains, fast and narrow. Both are rivers, both are complete, both reach the sea. Yet if the mountain river envies the valley's calm, or the valley river envies the mountain's speed, both forget their nature. Comparison is this, forgetting the refusal to honor the shape of our own current. In daily life, comparison arrives in many forms. You scroll through your phone and see curated images of others' joy. You walk into a room and feel yourself shrinking beside someone taller, wealthier, more articulate. You hear of a colleague's success, and instead of celebrating, your stomach tightens. None of these moments seem catastrophic, but each is a stone thrown into the still lake of the mind. Ripples spread, clarity distorts, peace dissolves. What makes comparison so insidious is that it often masquerades as self-improvement. We think, if they can do it, I should too. If they have it, I must strive for it. But the striving is poisoned. It does not emerge from reverence for growth, but from disdain for the present. We are no longer walking our own path. We are stumbling along another's, blind to where ours was leading. There is a Zen parable of a student who wept to his master. I am not as wise as Brother Li, not as disciplined as Brother Chen, not as compassionate as Sister May. I feel I am failing. The master led him outside and pointed to the sky. Do you see the stars? Each shines with its own light. None steals from another. The tragedy is not that you are not like them, but that you do not see your own star. Comparison blinds us to our own brilliance. How do we respond to this poison without letting it rule us? The first step is awareness. Notice the voice. Catch it in the act. When you feel the tightening of envy, whisper inwardly, "This is comparison." As we explored earlier, Naming creates space. Do not judge yourself for the thought. Simply recognize it, then return to your body. Breathe slowly. Place a hand on your chest. Remind yourself, I am here. My path is mine to walk. The Stoics practiced a similar return. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not waste the rest of your life imagining what others think of you. It will prevent you from doing what is in accordance with your own nature." For him, nature meant purpose, the unique role each being fulfills. To compare is to abandon your role and covet another's. To respond wisely is to return to your nature, to honor the life only you can live. Try this practice. The next time comparison arises, pause. Instead of feeding the envy, shift your gaze inward. Ask, what is one thing in my life I can honor right now? Perhaps it is your resilience, your kindness, your breath. Celebrate it quietly. This does not erase another's light, but it reminds you that your own shines too. Gratitude is the antidote to comparison. Where comparison says, not enough, gratitude says, already enough. There is a haiku that distills the practice. Stars crowd the night sky, yet each burns with its own flame. None dims another, so it is with us. Another's beauty does not erase yours. Another's success does not diminish your worth. Another's joy does not cancel your possibility of joy. At night, reflect gently. Where did comparison whisper today? Where did you forget your own star? Do not scold yourself. Smile softly, as if at a child who has wandered. Each noticing is a return. Return strengthens freedom. Over time, you will find that comparison loosens its grip, not because others have changed, but because you have remembered. You are a river with its own course, a star with its own light, a flame with its own glow. To respond to comparison with awareness, with gratitude, with presence, is to free yourself from its poison. So tomorrow, when the whisper comes, look at them. You are not enough. Pause. Breathe. Name it. This is comparison. Place your hand on your chest. Whisper gently, my path is mine. My light is mine. And step forward. The whisper may return, but you will no longer be its prisoner. You will walk your path with dignity, star shining, river flowing, flame steady, untouched by the quiet poison of comparison, choosing silence or a soft answer. There are moments in life when words rise like arrows. They press against the tongue, sharp and ready to fly. Someone insults you, misunderstands you, provokes you. The heart races, the breath quickens, the body prepares for battle. Reaction is instant. To strike back, to defend, to prove yourself right. Yet often, these arrows wound not only the other, but ourselves. The words once spoken cannot be recalled. The regret lingers long after the anger has cooled. In such moments, wisdom whispers another path. Choose silence or answer softly. The Buddha taught that harsh speech is like throwing hot coals. You may hit your target, but you burn your own hand first. To answer softly or not at all is to drop the coal. The Stoics echoed the same truth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily not to be made bitter by the bitterness of others. The best revenge, he wrote, is not to be like your enemy. To resist the urge to mirror anger with anger is strength greater than retaliation. Imagine a monk walking through a marketplace. A man mocks his appearance, calls him names, jeers loudly. The monk does not reply. He simply smiles and keeps walking. Later, a disciple asks, "Master, did their words not wound you?" The monk answers, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not take it, to whom does the gift belong?" The disciple replies, "To the one who offered it." The monk nods. "So it is with anger. If I do not accept it, it remains theirs." This is the freedom of choosing silence. You are not refusing to respond. You are refusing to be captured. You are declining to accept the poison. You are walking away not in weakness, but in strength. Yet silence is not always the answer. Sometimes words are needed to teach, to correct, to soothe. In these moments, the practice is to choose softness. A soft answer is not weakness, it is wisdom. It lowers the flame instead of fanning it. It interrupts cycles of escalation. Like cool water poured on fire, it transforms the heat into something manageable. Think of your own experience. Perhaps there was a time when someone spoke harshly to you, and instead of striking back, you replied calmly, "I hear you," or you chose words of kindness instead of defense. Do you remember the shift? The tension lessened, the hostility dissolved. That is the power of a soft answer. It does not deny conflict, but it refuses to multiply it. There is a haiku that captures this spirit. Words sharp as arrows, but silence shields, or soft voice turns them into wind. In Buddhist practice, right speech is one of the Eightfold Path's foundations. It asks, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If not, silence may be better. If words are needed, let them be gentle. The Stoics, too, examined speech. Seneca wrote that anger burns itself out when it meets no resistance. A calm response, or no response, disarms the aggressor more effectively than 1,000 counterattacks. This practice is difficult. Our pride resists it. Pride insists, if I stay silent, they will think me weak. If I answer softly, they will think me defeated. But silence and softness are not surrender. They are mastery. Anyone can react. Few can choose restraint. The monk who carries calm through insults is stronger than the soldier who conquers cities. How do we cultivate this mastery? Begin small. The next time someone interrupts you, pause. Instead of snapping, breathe. Perhaps you say nothing. Perhaps you reply, "Please, go on." Notice the shift in energy, or the next time you feel irritation rising, whisper softly instead of loudly. Choose one gentle word over 10 sharp ones. See how the moment transforms. At night, reflect. Where did I speak harshly today? Where did I choose silence? Where did I answer softly? Be gentle in your review. Even noticing the missed chances is part of practice. Each reflection plants the seed for tomorrow's pause. You will not always succeed. Words will fly when you wish they hadn't. Silence will feel impossible. That is human. But remember, each attempt strengthens the path. Each time you pause, even briefly, you train your nervous system. Slowly, the habit grows. One day, you will find yourself silent in moments where once you would have exploded. You will find your words softer in places where once they were sharp. And you will realize that you are no longer prisoner to reaction. There is a story of a king who asked his sage, "What is the strongest weapon?" The sage replied, "Silence." The king was puzzled. How can silence defeat enemies? The sage smiled. Because silence cannot be turned against you. It cannot be twisted, cannot be sharpened, cannot be poisoned. It leaves your enemy's arrows falling harmless to the ground. So tomorrow, when harsh words fly toward you, pause, feel the fire rise. Then remember, you have a choice. You can remain silent, letting the arrows fall, or you can answer softly, turning fire to ash. Either way, you walk free, and freedom, not victory, is the true triumph. Practice reps at bedtime. Every skill worth having requires practice. Musicians repeat scales. Athletes run drills. Artists sketch the same form again and again. Mastery is not born from one moment of inspiration, but from steady repetition. Responding instead of reacting is no different. It is not a trait you either possess or lack. It is a skill you cultivate, slowly, patiently, through practice. And one of the best times to train this skill is at night, just before sleep, when the mind is soft, the body at rest, and the day is fresh in memory. The Buddha compared training the mind to training an ox. You cannot yank it into obedience in a single day. You guide it gently, steadily, teaching it to follow the path step by step. Marcus Aurelius practiced the same through nightly journaling, reviewing his day not to condemn himself but to learn. Both traditions knew that reflection before rest strengthens the habits of tomorrow. Bedtime is not the end of practice. It is rehearsal for dawn. How does this work in responding, not reacting? Begin by lying quietly at the close of your day. Let the breath slow. Let the body soften. Then gently replay the day in your mind. Notice the moments when you reacted quickly. Perhaps you snapped at a loved one, grew irritated in traffic, or spoke too sharply in a meeting. Do not scold yourself. Simply observe. See how the reaction felt in your body: tightness in the chest, heat in the face, shallowness of breath. Acknowledge it. Yes, this is what reaction feels like. Then replay the scene again, but differently. Imagine yourself pausing, breathing, choosing silence or softer words. Imagine your body staying calm, your voice gentler. See the moment unfolding as if you had remembered the golden pause. This is rehearsal. The brain does not distinguish sharply between real experience and vividly imagined practice. What you rehearse at night plants seeds in the soil of your mind, seeds that are more likely to sprout when the moment comes again. There is a haiku that captures this practice. Day fades into night. I walk again in my mind, choosing softer steps. Each mental walkthrough strengthens the path of response. You can also rehearse proactively. Imagine tomorrow's challenges. Perhaps you anticipate a difficult conversation, a stressful task, an interaction that usually triggers impatience. Picture it clearly. See yourself entering with calm posture, breathing slowly. Imagine the trigger arising. Then imagine yourself pausing, breathing, choosing wisely. The more vivid the rehearsal, the more natural the response will feel when reality arrives. Athletes call this visualization. Buddhists call it planting seeds. Both are describing the same truth. What you imagine repeatedly, you become prepared to embody. The Stoics had their version of this too. They called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of troubles. Seneca would picture insults, losses, setbacks, not to depress himself, but to prepare. When such troubles arrived, he was not surprised, and his response was steadier. Practicing reps at bedtime is the same. You imagine challenges so that when they appear, you meet them with readiness rather than reaction. Some people worry that rehearsing mistakes will make them dwell on negativity. But the key is in how you rehearse. Do not linger on failure. Notice it briefly, then practice the alternative. The purpose is not to punish yourself, but to train your nervous system for a better response. Over time, the body learns. Pause, breathe, choose. The mind follows the body's lead. Make this practice gentle. Begin with 1 or 2 moments each night. Do not demand perfection. Some nights you will be too tired. That is fine. Even a brief whisper of intention, "Tomorrow I will pause before reacting," plants the seed. Gratitude and self-compassion keep the practice alive. Over weeks, you will notice subtle shifts. Perhaps you pause once in a conversation where you would have snapped. Perhaps your voice softens in one place where it once would have sharpened. Celebrate these victories. They are signs of training taking root. Just as a pianist one day realizes the fingers move smoothly where once they stumbled, you will one day realize the pause has become natural. There is a Zen story of a monk who stumbled constantly in meditation. Each night he confessed to his master, "I failed again. My mind wandered. I reacted without awareness." The master smiled and said, "Each time you notice, you are already practicing. The noticing is itself a step on the path. So it is with us. Even noticing our reactions after the fact is part of practice. Reflection at bedtime is not failure, it is training. So tonight, before you drift into sleep, pause. Let the day replay softly. Notice where you reacted, then rehearse responding. Imagine tomorrow's challenges and practice choosing calm. Whisper inwardly, "I am not a reaction, I am a choice." Breathe deeply. Let the body remember. Then rest. Sleep will carry your rehearsal into the subconscious, weaving it into dreams, planting it in memory. And when tomorrow comes, you may find yourself pausing, breathing, responding. Not always, not perfectly, but more often, over time, more steadily, until one day, without even trying, you discover that the golden pause has become part of you. That response has replaced reaction as the rhythm of your life. Keep the inner flame. Be a lamp unto yourself. There is a story told of a monk who carried a lantern through the monastery, even during daylight. The younger monks laughed. Why carry a flame when the sun is already shining? But the monk never explained. One evening, a storm struck. The power went out. Lamps were extinguished. The hall was filled with panic. In the dark, the monk appeared with his lantern, steady and glowing. "This is why," he said softly. The others understood then. Outer light is fragile. It can vanish in a gust of wind, but the flame you carry within is different. It is your true refuge. The Buddha's last words to his disciples echo this truth. Be a lamp unto yourself. He was not asking them to reject teachers or deny guidance. He was pointing to the only flame that endures, the light of awareness within, the inner fire of mindfulness, compassion, and presence. Teachers may guide you, scriptures may inspire you, outer lights may comfort you, but when storms come, and they will, it is your own flame that must lead the way. To keep the inner flame is to tend to that light daily. Like any fire, it cannot be neglected. Leave it unattended, and it flickers. Feed it with reverence, and it glows steadily, no matter the weather outside. The flame is not dramatic, it is quiet, soft, often unnoticed by others. Yet it has the power to guide you through the darkest corridors. What is this flame? It is the spark of awareness that notices your breath. It is the warmth of gratitude that softens complaint. It is the steady glow of compassion that refuses to harden in the face of cruelty. It is the dignity of presence, the patience of silence, the strength of acceptance. All these are strands of the inner flame. Together, they create a lantern no storm can extinguish. The Stoics spoke of a similar fire. They believed each person carried within them a spark of the divine, a fragment of the cosmic order. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig." For him, as for the Buddha, the task was not to chase outer lights, but to tend the inner one. The world may swirl with chaos, but if your flame is steady, you remain free. But how do we tend this flame? Begin with small daily rituals. Sit quietly in the morning, close your eyes, and imagine a candle glowing in your chest. With each inhale, see it brighten. With each exhale, see it steady. Whisper inwardly, "This is my flame. I will tend it today." Then move into the day carrying that awareness. When irritation arises, return to the flame. When fear tightens, return to the flame. When sorrow darkens, return to the flame. Each return is another act of tending. The inner flame is also fed by gratitude. Each time you whisper thanks, you place oil on the fire. Gratitude makes the flame steady, even in hardship. Compassion is another fuel. Each time you choose kindness instead of cruelty, the flame glows brighter. Silence too protects it, shielding it from winds of distraction, and acceptance guards it, preventing the flame from being smothered by resistance. You will forget. You will neglect the flame. Days will come when you feel lost in darkness, but the flame is never truly gone. It only waits for you to remember. One breath of awareness, one whisper of gratitude, one act of compassion, and the flame returns, as if it had never left. There is a haiku that captures this truth, a single candle. Though storms rattle the windows, its glow still remains. The candle is you. The glow is presence. The storm is life. At night, reflect. How did I tend my flame today? Did I protect it from the winds of anger? Did I feed it with gratitude? Did I brighten it with compassion? Be gentle. Even remembering once is enough. Each act of tending, no matter how small, strengthens the fire. So tomorrow, when you wake, whisper to yourself, "Be a lamp unto yourself." Picture the lantern in your chest, steady and glowing. Carry it with you into the day. Others may not see it, but they will feel it. And when storms come, and they always will, you will walk with light, guided not by fragile outer lamps, but by the flame you have kept alive within. Sacred minutes of silence. In our world of constant noise, silence can feel foreign, even threatening. Everywhere we go, sound follows us. Phones buzzing, conversations humming, televisions playing in the background, cars rushing by. Even when the outside world grows quiet, the inner chatter rarely stops. Thoughts swirl endlessly, planning, worrying, comparing. Yet the flame within us, the steady lantern of presence, needs silence. the way fire needs still air. Without silence, it flickers. With silence, it steadies. The Buddha often retreated into silence, not only for days of meditation, but in small pauses between words. His disciples sometimes pressed him with questions, but instead of answering, he would remain silent. That silence was not empty, it was full. In the space of no words, his students often discovered more truth than in 100 lectures. Silence allowed them to hear what had always been present, but drowned out by noise. The Stoics, too, valued silence. Seneca advised withdrawing into oneself daily, not as escapism but as nourishment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." He was reminding himself and us that silence is not found only in remote places. It is found within, in the moments when we turn away from the noise of the world and listen to the stillness of our own being. Sacred silence is not absence. It is presence in its purest form. It is the space in which the flame of awareness burns brightest. In silence, we see clearly what thought disguises. We feel deeply what busyness numbs. We return to the center of our being, where peace was never absent, only obscured. Imagine setting aside just 1 minute in your day. Turn off the devices, close the book, pause the conversation, sit quietly, close your eyes if you wish, breathe deeply, feel the rise and fall of your chest. Do nothing else. This is not an hour-long retreat. This is 60 seconds. Yet those 60 seconds, practiced daily, become sacred. They are like a sip of cool water in a desert, a brief but powerful reminder that peace is always available. Thich Nhat Hanh, the Vietnamese Zen master, once said, "Silence is essential. We need silence just as much as we need air, just as much as plants need light. Without silence, we suffocate. With silence, we grow." The nervous system responds quickly to even brief moments of stillness. Heart rate slows, muscles soften. The mind, accustomed to constant motion, begins to settle. Like a shaken jar of water, the dirt sinks and clarity returns. There is a haiku that captures this practice. 1 kyat minute. Candle glows against the night. World softens its weight. This 1 minute is not trivial. It is a doorway. Step through it, and you will find yourself more grounded, more compassionate, more steady in the storms of life. You can make silence a ritual. Choose a specific time each day, the first minute after waking, the last before sleep, or a pause before a meal. Let the body and mind learn to expect it. Over time, this small silence becomes a sanctuary you carry everywhere. Even in noise, you will remember it. Even in chaos, you will be able to retreat inwardly for a breath or two. And if you forget, if the day sweeps you away in noise from start to finish, do not despair. The next breath is always waiting. The next minute can always be silent. Silence does not demand perfection. It invites return. Each return is a victory. Consider practicing silence in ordinary places. Waiting in line, sitting in traffic, walking down a hallway. Instead of reaching for the phone, close your eyes for a moment. Breathe. Notice the world around you without commentary. These small practices accumulate. Soon, silence will not be rare but familiar, not distant but near. The Stoics believed in cultivating an inner citadel, a place within that remains unshaken by the world. Silence is how we enter that citadel. It is how we touch the unbroken center, the flame that never wavers. No matter what noise surrounds us, silence within is always available. We need only to remember. At night, reflect gently. Ask yourself, where did I touch silence today? Perhaps it was a breath between words, a pause before answering, a quiet walk to the mailbox. Celebrate it. Even the smallest silence is sacred. Each moment of stillness is another act of tending the flame. So tomorrow, when the world clamors for your attention, pause. Set aside one sacred minute. Sit quietly, breathe, and listen to the silence that has been here all along. In that silence, your flame steadies, and in that steadiness you will remember, peace is not something you must chase. Peace is what remains when you allow silence to return. Accepting what is, laying down stones. Life places stones in our hands. Some are small inconveniences, a delay in traffic, a careless word, a task undone. Others are heavier, illness, loss, betrayal, regret. We carry them, often without noticing, until our arms ache, our steps slow, and our spirit grows weary. Much of our suffering comes not from the stones themselves, but from our refusal to set them down. Acceptance is the art of laying down what is too heavy to carry. It is not resignation. It is not defeat. It is remembering that peace cannot flourish in hands clenched around stones. The Buddha taught that suffering begins when we resist what is. He did not say suffering begins with pain. Pain is inevitable. The ache of the body, the sting of grief, the uncertainty of the future, these belong to life. But when we insist, this should not be so, we double the weight. The first arrow is the pain itself. The second arrow is our refusal. To accept is to remove the second arrow, to whisper, yes, this too is part of the path, is to lighten the load. The Stoics saw the same truth. Epictetus reminded his students, do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will flow well. He was not asking them to enjoy suffering. He was teaching them to stop warring with reality. Marcus Aurelius, emperor though he was, faced illness, betrayal, and loss. His journal is filled with reminders to himself, do not complain, do not waste strength wishing the world were otherwise. Meet it as it is. Imagine standing by a river. The current carries branches, leaves, even debris from storms upstream. You can fight it, thrashing against the water, insisting it flow differently. Or you can float, trusting it to carry you onward. Acceptance is floating. It does not remove the river's debris, but it stops you from drowning in resistance. There is a Zen story of a farmer who complained to the Buddha. His crops had failed, his wife misunderstood him, his children disobeyed, his neighbors gossiped. Please, Master, help me rid myself of these problems. The Buddha replied, I cannot help you with that. Everyone has 83 problems. Some change, some stay, but there will always be 83. The farmer was shocked. Then what is the point of practice? The Buddha smiled. I can help you with the 84th problem. What is that? Asked the farmer. The belief that you should not have problems. Acceptance is solving the 84th problem. Try this practice. When a difficulty arises, pause, breathe. Notice the stone placed in your hand. Do not deny it. Do not curse it. Do not cling to it. Simply whisper, "This too belongs." Feel the shift. The weight does not vanish, but it becomes easier to carry. In time, you may even set it down. At night, reflect gently. Ask yourself, which stones did I carry today? Which did I lay down? Be honest but kind. If you carried them all, notice that. Tomorrow, you can practice again. Acceptance is not perfection, it is return. Each time you remember, you practice laying one stone down. There is a haiku that captures the spirit. Hands full of heavy stones, I open them to the ground. Suddenly, I'm light. Acceptance does not mean liking what has happened. It does not mean giving up on change where change is possible. It means distinguishing between what can be changed and what cannot. It means using your strength wisely. Why exhaust yourself carrying stones that cannot be removed? Lay them down and use your hands for building, for blessing, for holding. The Stoics called this distinction the dichotomy of control. Some things are within our power, our choices, our attitudes, our actions. Others are not: the weather, the past, the opinions of others. To resist what is beyond control is to pick up stones endlessly. To accept is to free your hands for what matters. Acceptance also guards the flame. Anger, resentment, and complaint are winds that threaten to extinguish it. But when you accept, the flame steadies. You may still grieve, still ache, still wish things were easier, but you no longer fight reality. You no longer waste your strength clutching stones. You tend the flame instead. So tomorrow, when life places a stone in your hand, pause, look at it, whisper, "This too is part of the path." If you can set it down, do so. If you must carry it lightly, without bitterness. And at the end of the day, release what you can. You will discover that the ground is fertile, covered with stones you no longer need, and the flame within you, no longer battered by resistance, will glow more steadily, lighting your way through whatever remains. Nightly reflection that polishes the mirror. Every day leaves a residue. Conversations linger, tasks remain unfinished, regrets echo, and joys shimmer faintly before fading into memory. Like dust settling on a mirror, these fragments collect on the surface of the mind. By nightfall, the reflection of our true nature is obscured. We no longer see ourselves clearly. We see only the smudges of the day. But each night, before surrendering to sleep, we are offered a choice. Leave the dust to accumulate, or gently wipe the mirror clean. Reflection at night is this gentle polishing. It is not a harsh scrubbing, not a self-accusation. It is a soft cloth drawn across the surface, allowing the flame within to shine once more. The Buddha encouraged his disciples to review their day each evening, not to condemn themselves, but to notice, where did I act with compassion? Where did I cause harm? Where did I forget? Where did I remember? This reflection was not punishment, but practice, a way of planting seeds for tomorrow. The Stoics did the same. Seneca described lying in bed at night, questioning himself, what habit did I strengthen today? What weakness did I resist? Where did I fall short? Where did I grow? His goal was not perfection but progress, not blame but clarity. Imagine your mind as a pond. All day long, stones have been thrown in, some large, some small. By night, the surface is rippled, cloudy. Reflection is the act of sitting beside the pond, letting the water settle, noticing what remains. You do not judge the ripples, you do not deny the stones, you simply allow clarity to return. Try this practice tonight. Before sleep, sit quietly or lie still. Breathe deeply once, twice, 3 times. Then let the day replay softly in your mind. Begin at morning. Watch yourself waking. See the choices you made, the words you spoke, the emotions that rose. Move slowly through the hours, as though watching a film. Do not cling to each scene. Let them pass naturally, but pause when something glimmers, an act of kindness, a moment of irritation, a breath of presence, a flash of forgetting. Note it gently, whisper inwardly, "This is part of me. I bow to it." If you notice mistakes, do not scold. Simply acknowledge. This was anger. This was impatience. This was fear. Then imagine setting it down, like placing a stone on the ground. If you notice goodness, honor it. This was kindness. This was patience. This was gratitude. Let it shine for a moment, then carry it forward in your heart. In this way, you polish both sides of the mirror, the side clouded by forgetting, and the side lit by remembering. There is a haiku that captures this practice. Day's dust on the glass. I wipe softly before sleep. Moonlight shines again. This is what nightly reflection does. It allows the moonlight, the flame within, to shine clearly again. Over time, this practice shapes the nervous system as well. Instead of replaying regrets endlessly, the mind learns to process them and release. Instead of clinging to worries, the body learns to soften. Neuroscience shows that gratitude and mindful reflection before sleep improve rest, lowering stress hormones, deepening cycles of repair. What the ancients taught as spiritual wisdom, modern science confirms as biological truth. But the deepest purpose of reflection is not only calm, it is continuity. Each night's review links today to tomorrow. You notice where you forgot, and you plant the intention to remember sooner, next time. You notice where you remembered, and you strengthen the path to repeat it. Like a craftsman polishing a tool, each stroke improves the clarity with which you meet life. The Stoics understood this as rehearsal. Seneca said that by reviewing his day, he was preparing for the next. The Buddha taught the same in different words. Each reflection plants seeds in the soil of the mind. Tomorrow's actions grow from tonight's seeds. If you polish the mirror gently, the reflection tomorrow will be clearer. You do not need hours for this practice. Even 5 minutes can transform the night. The point is not length, but sincerity. It is not about perfect memory, but honest noticing. The mirror need not be spotless. It need only be tended. And if you forget, if you collapse into sleep without reflection, do not despair. Tomorrow offers another chance. Even one night of practice strengthens the path. Like wiping dust from glass, each effort makes a difference, however small. So tonight, before sleep, pause, breathe. Let the day replay softly. Notice where you forgot, where you remembered. Set down the stones, honor the jewels, polish the mirror gently. Then rest. You will discover that sleep comes more peacefully, and dawn arrives more clearly, and the flame within, polished and steady, will be ready to light your way again, forgetting and returning, tending the light. No practice is perfect. No flame burns without flicker. No mind remains steady without wandering. Even the most devoted monks confess that they forget, that they are swept away by anger, fear, or distraction. The difference between the master and the beginner is not that the master never forgets. It is that the master remembers more quickly and returns more gently. To keep the inner flame is not to guard it flawlessly, but to tend it faithfully, forgetting and then returning again and again. The Buddha often spoke of mindfulness not as a rigid state, but as a continual returning. Each time the mind wandered in meditation, the instruction was simple: notice and come back. No condemnation, no shame, just return. Marcus Aurelius, centuries later, reminded himself of the same truth. When you wake from forgetfulness, return to yourself again and again and again. Do not grow weary of returning. Both teachings align. Forgetting is not failure. Remembering is the practice. Imagine the inner flame as a candle in your chest. Some days you guard it carefully, feeding it with silence, gratitude, compassion. It glows steadily. Other days, winds of distraction or storms of emotion blow against it. The flame flickers, nearly dies. You panic. I have lost it. But then you pause. Cup your hands around it. Breathe gently. The flame steadies. It was never gone. It only needed tending. This is the rhythm of practice. Flicker and steady, forgetting and returning, losing and remembering. There is a haiku that embodies this truth. Candle bends in wind, yet each time I shield it close, its light lives again. The flame survives not because the wind stops, but because you return to tend it. In daily life, forgetting is inevitable. You will rush through mornings without gratitude, scroll through screens before silence, react sharply instead of pausing. You will carry stones of resistance instead of setting them down. You will miss chances to walk mindfully, to breathe deeply, to polish the mirror at night. And yet each time you remember, the flame is still there. It waits patiently for your return. The danger is not in forgetting, but in believing. Forgetting is failure. When you think, I have failed, you may abandon the practice altogether. But the practice is not to be perfect. It is to return. Each return is victory. Each return is tending. Over time, these returns accumulate, shaping a life of steadiness and presence. The Stoics knew this as well. Seneca wrote that even when he lost his temper, he did not despair, because he could always return to reflection and grow from the lapse. Marcus reminded himself that to stumble was human, but to rise again was divine. What mattered was not never falling, but rising with gentleness each time. Try this practice. The next time you notice you've forgotten, you snapped at someone, rushed unconsciously, drowned in worry, pause. Instead of scolding yourself, whisper softly, I return. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe once, deeply. Imagine cupping the flame again. In that moment, you have already tended the light. At night, you can rehearse this return. As you lie down, recall where you forgot today. Instead of replaying regret, replay the return. Picture yourself pausing, breathing, tending the flame. Plant the intention to remember sooner tomorrow. Slowly the habit forms. The flame grows steadier, not because you never forget, but because you remember more quickly. Think of waves on the shore. They surge forward, then retreat. yet the ocean remains vast, steady, unbroken. Your practice is the same. Forgetting is the surge, returning the retreat. Beneath both, the vast ocean of awareness remains untouched. The flame within is that ocean's light, steady, even when the surface churns. This is the final gift of tending the flame. Compassion, not only for others, but for yourself. To forgive your own forgetting is to keep the flame alive. To scold yourself harshly is to blow against it. To return gently is to shield it. Each act of compassion, even toward your own wandering mind, is another drop of oil that feeds the lamp. So tomorrow, when you forget and you will pause, smile softly, as if at a child who has wandered off. Whisper, "I return." Tend the flame with patience, and know that in this rhythm of forgetting and returning, your light grows stronger, not weaker. In the end, keeping the inner flame is not about perfection. It is about devotion. It is about showing up again and again, cupping the light with your hands, whispering gratitude, practicing silence, laying down stones, polishing the mirror, and returning when you forget. Over years, this tending becomes your way of being. The flame, once flickering, grows steady. It guides you through storms, through darkness, through uncertainty. It becomes your companion, your refuge, your lamp, and as it steadies, others will see it too. They may not know why your presence feels calm, why your words carry softness, why your pace feels grounded. They will feel the flame. In this way, tending your own light becomes a gift to the world. So tonight, as you close this chapter, pause. Picture the candle in your chest, glowing quietly. Place your hands around it. Breathe deeply. Whisper softly, "I will forget. I will return. I will tend my flame." Then rest, knowing the flame is steady, and tomorrow, when you awaken, it will rise with you again. What unites all these practice as you step forward into your own days? Remember, forgetting is not failure. The practice is to return. Each return is an act of strength. Each return is tending the flame. And over time, your flame will shine more steadily, guiding not only you but all those who walk near you. From my heart to yours, I wish you health, peace, and all the beauty this world can offer. May your mornings be light, your evenings soft, and your days filled with small blessings you no longer overlook. May every step remind you that you are already home. If these words have been a companion to you, I invite you to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next video, the next gentle reminder, the next flame we will light together. This journey is not walked alone. We walk side by side, across oceans and continents, beneath the same sky, carried by the same breath. So let us walk forward together with gratitude in our steps, silence in our hearts, and a steady flame lighting the way. Gently, we come to the end of this meditation. You have given yourself the gift of stillness, of presence, of peace. May your mind be calm, may your heart be light, and may you carry this inner flame with you into every moment of your life. Remember, whenever anxiety rises, you can return to your breath, your body, and your practice. The path home is always here. If this meditation has touched your heart, I invite you to like, share, and subscribe, so you will never miss the next practice of mindfulness and Buddhist wisdom. Until we meet again, may you be free, may you be peaceful, may you be happy. Buddhism verity.